just soon after taking off from Ethiopia. It was a Boeing 737 MAX 8, and there were 35 nationalities that were on board that flight. 157 people in total died, 149 being the passengers and 8 cabin crew members. You know, our heartfelt condolences go out to them, and of course the 32 Kenyans that were on board. Our heartfelt condolences to all the families that lost their loved ones in that plane crash. We do hope that you have the strength to keep going and keep soldiering on. We do hope that you find some peace in whatever way that is possible for you. A warm welcome once again to Good Morning Kenya. And of course, as you know it, we are always a four-man crew right here on Good Morning Kenya. I just want to rope in my colleagues to just let us know what they have lined up for us. And of course, their thoughts in regards to the Ethiopian airline plane that crashed yesterday morning. Regina, good morning.
Good morning once again. Yes, indeed, it was a bleak Sunday as Kenyans woke up to the news of losing 32 passengers on board. Indians were second with 18 passengers on board, while China had 8 persons on board. We want to condole with the families. May the soul of the departed rest in eternal peace. Now, this particular crash has already thrown a spanner into the works, given that Boeing, this is the 8th crash in recent times, and critics are already asking, is this a time to recall this particular make, given its current streak in as far as crashes are concerned. But as that continues working out, is that we pray that the persons who lost their loved ones find peace. And we know that the Kenyan government has sent a representative, that is the Principal Secretary for Transport, Esther Koimet, to Ethiopia in light of this particular development. KBC Channel 1 will continue keeping you informed on what goes on in as far as this particular crash is concerned. Quite a bleak Sunday there, but it doesn't mean that so much on the new GMK News Brief is all about sad moments. If you are a football fan, and more specifically an Arsenal fan, indeed it was a great weekend. And the saying goes is that the team, Arsenal beat the team that had beaten all the other teams. That is none other than Manchester United. That is 2-0 there, comfortably putting it now 2 points ahead of their foes, Manchester United at 60 points, while Man U came in at 58 points. While still Manchester City is still at the top with 74 points. And some of the crew this morning happened to be divided on that lot. We have Manchester United fans as well as their sympathizers. And now we have
celebrating.
Yes, we have our main guy here on the technical department. That is none other than Okinyi celebrating and saying, yes, there were a few people who had taken to social media and actually challenged Arsenal fans and told them that indeed if Arsenal won, they would be getting their wives. Well, that we'll discuss later. Over to you, and Dorina right here.
A bet is a bet.
A big congratulations to the Arsenal fans, Sapo. I had people saying that they will not shave their heads anymore. We are looking forward to you shaving your head. You said you will shave your heads and you'll give people your wives. So let us see how it goes now. For the Manchester United fans, mtaambia watu nini? A very big welcome to you. Good morning. My name is Ram Maguko, and now this morning on Good Morning Kenya, far from sports issues, we shall be dwelling on matters on politics. Devolution. Remember last week we had the devolution conference that took place in Kirinyaga County, and we had so many keynote speakers, many things were addressed. Remember, even issues to do with corruption came to the light, even as people discussed and people debated concerning what corruption is all about. We even had a few comments here. Remember, there were the debates have risen up concerning the relationship between even the Deputy President and the Right Honorable Raila Odinga when they made comments concerning corruption, each making their own. Not only corruption, we shall also dwell on the issues to do with ODM party. Aisha Jumwa, remember the Honorable, was removed from the party. We had even Honorable Dori, who decided to apologize, and seemingly some people were not happy with that decision. But that and many more will be put into perspective on Politics, even as our panelists come on board. But on the other side, we shall be dealing with traffic updates with the one and only here.
All right, thank you very much, Raman. A very good morning to you as well as Regina and Jane. And just to continue extending this condolence, to people that lost their lives yesterday, bearing in mind that a number of individuals who are in that plane were actually coming for the United Nations Environmental Assembly Conference, which is slated to begin today to run all the way through Friday. So it's really just, a moment of grief, because these were delegates, people from private sector, the elite, who are just coming to put in together their thoughts, their ideas on how we can actually curb this issue facing the environment, given the fact that we have a lot of issues facing the environment in terms of air pollution, water pollution, and land pollution. So it's just such a sad time. But still, on that matter, the environmental conference will still continue, and we'll just be covering for you that particular conference in a way only we can continue to bring you up to date with what will be happening on that particular conference, and even the ideas that are going to be shared in terms of finding innovative solutions that can help us curb issues facing our environment. And aside from that, today on matters, what will be happening across the roads, I will be just heading to Wayakiwe, also just to let you know what will be happening on that particular route, as well as tell you the history behind the name Wayakiwe. Remember that particular name just didn't come out of nowhere. There's a history behind the reason why it's called Wayakiwe. So there's a whole lot to be sticking around for, that you need to be watching this show this morning. There's a lot in store for you. And aside from also what will be happening on the roads, I'll just also be speaking to Kenyans based on what Jen will be talking about, as well as what Rama said concerning the issue of devolution, bearing in mind that the issue of corruption has really come out in a larger perspective. So just hearing Kenyans' perspective concerning this particular issue is also what we'll be covering for you this morning. And again, many thanks for joining us. My name is Dorina Range. Over to you, Jane.
Well, all right. You trust and believe that these conversations do not get any better than as they are here on Good Morning Kenya. So we look forward to that discussion, especially that devolution, post-devolution discussion, considering the 24-point agenda that was actually agreed upon. So be sure to be part of this discussion. Remember, you can always talk to us through our Twitter and all the social media platforms. The hashtag ever remains hashtag Good Morning Kenya, our official station handle at KBC Channel 1, and of course our individual handles. I'll start with Traffic Marshal 001 herself. She is at Doreen Range across all the social media platforms. The main man on set today and every other day, Ram Aguko, across all the social media platforms, as well Ray Manyara and Jane Wamboi across all the social media platforms. So keep the conversation going on Twitter. We will be sampling your views and comments as we proceed on with the show. But for as of now, I want to hand you over back to Regina to let us know what is happening on the GMK News Brief. Regina.
Good morning once again. If you're waking up, this is indeed the best way to wake up each and every morning, Monday, every day at 6 a.m. all the way to 9 a.m. Now we start off with matters and news, and we start off with sad news, as we had alluded to earlier, is that the Kenya government has dispatched Transport Principal Secretary Esther Koimet to Ethiopia following an Ethiopian airline crash that claimed the lives of 32 Kenyans. All the 157 people on board Boeing 737 that was en route to Jomo Kenyatta International Airport perished in the Sunday morning crash that happened only 6 minutes after the flight had left Bole Airport in Addis Ababa. News of the plane crash was shared by Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed through a tweet.
Ethiopian Airlines flight ETH 302 was reported missing from radar at approximately 8:45 a.m. 6 minutes after takeoff. At around 10:50 a.m., Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, through a tweet, broke the sad news, sending his condolences to the families of those who were on board the ill-fated flight. Following the crash, Transport Cabinet Secretary James Macharia visited the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, where the plane had been scheduled to land at around 10:25 a.m.
There were at least 35 nationalities, and I'm saying at least because as of now 2 are unknown. So among the most affected, as you may expect, is Kenya, which had about 32 passengers on board.
Family members and friends of 32 Kenyans who were in the plane, waiting with bated breath to hear details of the whereabouts of their loved ones.
In the quest for accurate and more up-to-date information, we have also decided as government to send senior officials to Addis Ababa. And so in a few hours' time, I'll be dispatching my Principal Secretary for Transport, Esther Koimet, together with the Director Air Transport, Nicholas Bondo. So they'll be arriving this evening so that we can coordinate these issues seamlessly together with our colleagues in Ethiopia.
Later, Ethiopian authorities confirmed that all the 149 passengers and crew members who were on board the airplane had perished in the crash some 60 kilometers south of Addis Ababa. Macharia said that a delegation of senior government officials, led by the Transport Principal Secretary Esther Koimet, will be heading to Addis Ababa to get further details of the crash. Besides the 32 Kenyans, 18 Canadians, 9 Ethiopians, 8 Chinese, 8 Italians, 7 UK and French nationals were also in the ill-fated flight.
Now, the country is mourning the death of 32 citizens who perished in this yesterday's morning ill-fated Ethiopia Airlines plane crash. President Uhuru Kenyatta, Deputy President William Ruto and ODM leader Raila Odinga led Kenyans in condoling with the families and loved ones of passengers who were on board flight Ethiopia 302, ET302.
As soon as news of the Ethiopian Airways plane crash broke on Sunday morning, various leaders and ordinary citizens took to social media to mourn the victims on board the ill-fated aircraft. In a tweet, President Uhuru Kenyatta expressed sadness at the news, saying his prayers were with all the families and associates of the deceased. Similar sentiments were expressed by his deputy William Ruto, who also tweeted his condolences. ODM leader Raila Odinga also condoled with the bereaved, saying he was praying that God grants them the strength to bear and cope with the loss. Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka, Amani National Congress...
We want to tell that fellow why his people are poor in Kibera and where he comes from. Ni mambo ya kupigana na harambi.
The Jubilee leaders claim they will not allow outsiders to interfere with Jubilee government's development agenda and will defend the government at all costs from its competitors.
Wakati tunaelekea mbele, haitakubalika ya kwamba watu watumie gesture ya rais kusema ya kwamba mkuje tufanye kazi pamoja, watumie kuvunja chama yetu ya Jubilee. Hiyo haitawezekana.
For Channel 1 News, I'm Gladys Mungai.
Now, the national soccer team Harambee Stars will be fully funded by the government as they prepare to take part in the 2019 Africa Cup of Nations. Well, that is just on a story that we have been, or rather we are highlighting for you in not too long. Calm Matters Sports, and this is also what was spoken by President Uhuru Kenyatta at the Beyond Zero Marathon, where Uhuru Kenyatta reaffirmed government's commitment to ensure that all national teams that are preparing to present Kenya in the national assignments get the necessary support.
Thousands stand up for the 4th edition of the Beyond Zero Half Marathon, which for the first time involved a wheelchair race for Paralympians. 2016 World Paralympic champion Samuel Mushai, who took part in the 10-kilometer race, sets his eyes to the upcoming Morocco Grand Prix that will be used as a round-1 qualifier for the 2020 Olympic Games. President Uhuru Kenyatta said Harambee Stars and other national teams, including rugby and athletics, will get full government support as they prepare to take part in the international assignments.
As a result, also last year, when we said that we were going to add a tax to gambling, I think this year I can proudly say that sports, culture, and arts will truly take center stage in our republic. I can say with certainty ya kwamba mwaka huu Harambee Stars hawatakuwa wana beg, borrow tutawafund from January to February and ensure that Harambee Stars becomes a success. I
completed the race in that sport. 2016 World Paralympic champion Samuel Mushai took part in the event and sets his eyes on the upcoming Morocco Grand Prix that will be held next month.
Mwezi ambao tunaelekea mwezi wa 4 tuna mashindano itakayofanyika kule Morocco ya Paralympic ambayo itakuwa ni qualification za kwenda Tokyo 2020. Ndio tunajiandaa pia kwa hiyo mashindano.
Top government officials and top athletics top creams and close to 25,000 participants featured in this year's edition of the Beyond Zero Half Marathon, which also provided an opportunity for the National Paralympics team to intensify its training ahead of the 2020 Tokyo Olympic qualifiers. Reporting for Channel 1 Sports from Nyayo National Stadium in Nairobi, my name is Frederick Mwoki.
Now, crossing over and still delving into matters politics is that a section of Jubilee and NASA allied persons to President Uhuru Kenyatta have dared those against the war or the ongoing war on corruption to quit the party. The legislators claimed some leaders want to drag the nation behind and are trying hard to invoke communities on war against corruption.
Political leadership from Elgeyo-Marakwet County, where investigative agencies are probing alleged loss of 21 billion shillings that the national government had put in construction of 2 mega dams, criticized the ongoing investigations. A section of MPs from both Jubilee and NASA are hitting back.
When I hear leaders and individuals wakisema ati hii mambo ya handshake ni mbaya, hii mambo ya handshake sijui ilikuwa inakuja kuharibia mtu. Honestly, the number of people who died, the number of people who suffered, we need to respect that. We need to respect the handshake na tusaidie rais ili aweze kushikanisha nchi.
When I ask for prayers, I know how powerful they are. Please pray for our country. We must fight corruption so that the people who are trying to intimidate the president to stop fighting corruption washindwe kwa jina ya Yesu.
Mimi nataka kuuliza nyinyi waumini wa kanisa, pesa ya demi imelipwa 21 billion, ikanunua towels ya milioni 20. Nikajiuliza towel inafanya kazi gani kwa ujenzi wa damu? Wakati Uhuru anasema hii kitu ichunguzwe, watu wanaanza kutaja Uhuru kwa majina. Na mimi nataka kutangaza hapa kwamba yeyote ambaye anakashifu uchunguzi ambao unaendelea, yeye yuko ndani ya hii sakata. Hiyo
mambo ya ufisadi, tulianza na mambo ya lifestyle. Wakati wa lifestyle watu wakasema ni mtu yetu anaonewa. Tukaenda mambo ya mahindi, ni mtu yetu anaonewa. Sasa ni wakati wa dams, ni mtu yetu vile vile anaonewa. Kwani huyu mtu wetu ako kila mahali wizi iko?
Speaking in PCA Kasarani Church, the legislators dared the Rift Valley MPs who have been criticizing the ongoing war on graft to ship out of the ruling party. The legislators said they will support the president's agenda to eradicate corruption.
So I urge all Christians from today, we go on our knees, we pray for our nation, very seriously. Because I remember when Uhuru came with Raila and the rest of the leaders at the National Prayer Breakfast last year. They came before me and I was there. And after prayers, they hugged each other, confirming it is more than just a handshake. So, this is from God. This is from God. And we must fight with anybody else on the other side if we are to save this nation.
Upende usipende, Mungu ako na interest na hii nchi. Na yeye ndiye anapeana mfalme. Na ule mfalme tumepewa ni kwa sababu Mungu alikuwa na nia nzuri. Na zile mambo zimekuwa zikiendelea za corruption, matusi na mambo mingi, watu wanaongea zile vitu hazifai. Nataka watu wajue kutoka leo, jeshi la Uhuru ni mingi.
Wawache sasa mambo ya kutukana rais wetu. Kwa hivyo tunawaambia ya kwamba hata kama ni kutoka kwa chama, tokeni polepole bila matusi.
Their remarks came as Ford Kenya party leader Senator Moses Wetangula called on politicians to refrain from trading accusations of a runaway corruption, but allow conclusive investigations to be done.
The office of the DPP and the office of the DCI, we support what you are doing, but we as a party have said that there is too much talk and too little action.
He was speaking during a two-day retreat of the Ford Kenya party in Nakuru. Kevin Washira, Channel 1 News.
Over to matters diplomacy, where Tourism Cabinet Secretary Najib Balala says Kenya will continue building its relations with Turkey. Speaking during the 10th commemoration since a Turkish airline landed in Kenya, Balala said the airline had helped connecting Kenya to the rest of the world and boosting tourism and trade.
Airlines, family, clans and friends flocked to Turkish ambassador to Kenya residents in Nairobi to commemorate 10 years since the Turkish Airlines landed in Kenya.
Turkey regards Kenya as a strong actor and as an important partner. We are determined to improve and diversify our cooperation with Kenya even further. Certainly, Turkish Airlines will continue to be the most important contributor in this process.
The Turkish ambassador to Kenya, Ahmet Semil Miroglu, hailed the relationship between his country and Kenya, saying his government was determined to building more strong ties both in trade and culture.
People-to-people contacts have intensified tremendously as a result of direct flights between our countries since 2009, as well as ever-growing numbers of students and business people and tourists traveling both ways.
Miroglu said the airline has seen a number of Kenyans benefit from quality products from Turkey. Tourism Cabinet Secretary Najib Balala, who was chief guest, said the airline had helped open Kenya to the rest of the world.
So here is a partnership that we have opened up our skies, and we want to use transport to build relationships. And we have a great relationship between Turkey and Kenya. And we want to cement that relationship both politically, economically, and socially.
Balala said in 2018 alone, over 2 million tourists visited Kenya, and the airline played a significant role in this.
We don't see Turkish Airlines to be just a competitor, but a mode of transport that brings us visitors into Kenya. And they have daily flights into Nairobi, 5 times a week into Mombasa.
Now, a group of women suffering from cervical cancer from Kuria East, Migori County have received medical insurance cover. The cover, which is under the National Hospital Insurance Fund, costs 76.4 million shillings and will run for the next 3 years, catering to services like chemotherapy, radiotherapy and medication for the beneficiaries.
The medical cover is part of an initiative by Step-by-Step Cervical Cancer Campaign, which is sponsored by Smile Woman, a community-based organization. Speaking at a function held at Masaba Health Center, Smile Woman Executive Director Thomas Chacha hailed the progress made by the campaign, urging women to go for regular cervical cancer screening and seek immediate medical help whenever they experience any symptoms.
Tunataka kushukuru pia kwamba wamama hawa wamefurahi na pesa hizi ambazo tumegharamia akina mama hawa haijakuwa ni pesa ambazo tumetoa kwa dona, haijakuwa ni pesa ambazo tumetoa kwa mtu. Hizi ni hela zile ambazo mwaka 2016 tarehe 10 mwezi wa 5 tulipotoka hapa tukielekea Mombasa kwa mguu tukikava kilomita 1000, na tulipopata pesa hizo tukasema sitaweza kutusaidia kufanya screening kama tungepata njia nyingine.
Dr. Nelly Bosire, an obstetrician and a gynecologist based in Nairobi, said that the 76.4 million shillings medical insurance cover will run for 3 years and will cater for chemotherapy, radiotherapy and medication for the beneficiaries.
Looking at the sustainability of it, it was not practical to be able to pay for their treatment. But with the good news that NHIS is able to now fully cater for treatment, it was sensible then to be able to sign them on to NHIS, and that would be able to cater for their treatment for a period of 2 years. is approximately the duration it takes to be able to undergo full treatment for cancer.
The initiative targets over 7,000 women in Migori County. So far, 32 women in Kuria East were issued with NHIF cards, the next phase being Nyatike sub-county. Dr. Bosire urged the residents to practice safe sex so as to prevent the spread of the human papilloma virus, a major trigger of cervical cancer, adding that there is need for more awareness, especially on the HPV vaccination, which helps in prevention of HPV-related diseases.
We need to start from awareness, because once we create enough awareness, and we always say, when you want to reach women, start from the MCHFP clinics, maternal child health. Women who have babies, they will get pregnant, they will go to clinic, they'll come from clinic, they have their babies, they'll bring their babies to clinic. If we're able to get them in that, if we're able to say, look, your child has to get vaccinated at 8, it will continue to break the news.
She calls for the reduction of the high cost of vaccine and cancer treatment, with many patients continuing to suffer in silence because they cannot cushion the cost of treating cancer.
Away from Migori, and we look at Marsabit County, where dozens of residents in Karagi village in Marsabit County will be forced to spend days in the cold after strong winds swept off their houses. The winds are said to have destroyed mainly manyatas in the area, leaving locals with no shelter.
Residents of Kargi village will be forced to seek makeshift shelters after their houses were blown off by strong winds. The winds, accompanied by heavy rains, also destroyed a nearby school, leaving pupils with no place to undertake their studies. Laisamis MP Musa Arbele is now calling on well-wishers to come to the rescue of the affected families, saying they have been left with nothing. The Red Cross Society has moved in and trying to assist the village that's stuck inside Chalbi Desert. Reporting for Channel 1 News, I'm Suleiman Yeri.
Now, such winds are so strong, such Marsabit County is one of the areas that have been demarcated for the wind power project. Places like Loyangalani, if you are not of good body weight, you cannot climb a hill. Well, it is good to have good body weight, don't you think so? Now, on other matters across the counties is that the Kenya Union of Pre-Primary Education Teachers is protesting against direct employment of early childhood development education workers by county governments. Meanwhile, Baringo Governor Stanley Kiptis has called for the peace initiatives aimed at boosting security in the region. Details of this and other stories in our news roundup from the counties.
The Kenya Union of Pre-Primary Education Teachers is protesting against direct employment of early childhood development education tutors by the county governments. The union's Secretary General Samuel Opio argued that the Constitution prohibits the county public service boards from hiring persons who are under the Teachers Service Commission.
We have moved across where we have members, and they all hold to a view that they can best be handled under Teachers Service Commission.
Meanwhile, Baringo Governor Stanley Kiptis has called for peace initiatives aimed at boosting security in the region. According to Kiptis, the youth could fight the vice through social activities.
And the culture of Tugen, the culture of Kalenjin, the culture of Pokot, even the culture of Kikuyu, even the Samburu, the Ma group, all of them. You don't kill a small boy. You don't kill a woman. You don't burn a house.
In Kajiado, the Magadi Savings and Credit Cooperative Society has embarked on training the youth in the region to fill the unemployment gap in the society. The SACCO's chair, Lucy Kaburia, says the project targets hundreds of potential youth that will also support regional agricultural projects.
We truly get inspiration from the community and we take care of their interests, and that is why we have the Class B and Class C membership, and they're able to utilize our facilities.
While in Naivasha, residents of Ihundu village are accusing the Kenya Wildlife Service of laxity in capturing a stray leopard that has invaded their homes, mauling over 50 sheep and goats. The residents now fear for their safety and that of their school-going children. Separately, the second phase of a campaign dubbed Never Stop, Never Settle that promotes the creative industry in the country has been launched in Nairobi. The Hennessy Very Special campaign highlights creative entrepreneurs from Kenya, South Africa, Nigeria, and Ivory Coast.
Countries in Africa running those kind of events, running the history and the knowledge of Hennessy throughout this young creative entrepreneur in a way partnership.
And finally, Kilifi County Governor Amason Kingi has rewarded the best primary and secondary schools in Magarini constituency that performed best in the 2018 KCPE and KCSE examinations. The governor donated 100,000 shillings each to the top schools and also rewarded the best performing teachers with cash awards, a move he said would boost their morale and ensure Magarini schools perform better in future exams. Irene Mchuma Udim, Channel 1.
Music and applied arts are the most common forms of entertainment in the country. However, poetry and especially spoken word has become the easiest peaking for artists and is rapidly gaining popularity.
Describe it as the most beautiful, impressive, and widely effective mode of saying things, and hence its importance. Poetry is simply the journal of a sea animal living on land, wanting to fly in the air. Performed in English, Swahili, and slang, sometimes with the aid of music and musical instruments, spoken word poetry has vastly gained popularity in the rural parts of Kenya. Odongo Kennedy Liki, alias Kenneth B, started writing spoken word majorly pegged on social issues 14 years ago and won the Slam Africa Poetry in 2009.
It made me start opening up the poetry industry in Kenya, and I think the achievements we've done is starting PAL, what you're talking about.
The founder of Poetry After Lunch recounts his motivation to start the program.
And it has been quite a good journey because I've nurtured a lot of artists, starting from my family. My kids and I here are still doing art and sharing the same stage with my kids. So it's some rich history I have about me and art. History is that we as Africans are made of stories. Our lives are made of stories. So poetry is part and parcel of our livity, and we can't walk away from it. And that is why I'm just taking the inside of me out to give to people.
The platform is meant to nurture the talents of Kenyan lyricists and also expose them to the larger audience worldwide.
Mufasa, one of them. We have Teardrops. We have me here. We have Kunimbi. We have Heart the band who started. We have Dufla Diligan, who was a poet and now is doing great dancehall out there. So we have a lot of artists.
Tiano is a loyal member of PAL, who began his poetry career in high school.
Mode wake maku ameingia in time, so tulikuwa tumeboeka. Sasa nikachukua paper nikaandika mistari kidogo, nikaperformia deskmate yangu, akasema Tiano manze, we ni kama siji uko na talent and stuff. Hapo ndio ilini boost morale.
He describes his journey in the industry and how PAL has exposed him to numerous opportunities.
I've been attending PAL for the last 3 years now. Siku ya kwanza nilikuja nikarudi home bila kuperform. Siku ya pili nikapata chance moja nikaitumia vile inafaa. I found home. I found where I belong. So vile niliperform for the first time na crowd ikani appreciate mzuri, ikanipatia pia morale ya kuingia kwa ma auditions and stuff. So my first audition ilikuwa Talanta Mtaani. Saa imenifikisha mbali sana cause last year nilikuwa nominated Spoken Word Artist of the Year 2018 Cafe Ngoma Awards, of which ilikuwa experience mzuri.
Kunimbichi has a merely different story. Coming from Kakamega, he met with Kenneth, who realized they shared a common interest in both poetry and music.
We were listening to music, making rhymes. That's when Kenneth B went to the Slam Africa, then he won. Then from there, he came back and told me, Kunimbichi, from the way you write your songs, I know you can try poetry.
Being well versed with the Sheng language, he decided to write his poems in slang to fascinate his audience, and the result is striking. PAL has achieved a large number of devoted followers due to its distinctive free entry and free lunch offers. As artists, they write their work, and this helps them to put stories in their own perspective. therefore making it easy to express.
It's something you can consume again and again. You can eat from it again and again whenever you perform, even to yourself. Whenever you write pieces of poetry and you go back reading them, you think deep, you lose yourself into that world where you repurify your mind, you refeed your mind, and you become strong again. So, and that is what the world needs. What we need to purify the world is spoken word poetry.
Many people believe that poetry is just a combination of mere rhyming words, but to these soldiers, it is more of an eternal graffiti scripted in their hearts to constantly remind them that if you can't be a poet, then be the poem. Ruwaida Muhammad for Channel 1.
Now crossing over to matters sports, where Football Kenya Federation FKF and Nairobi West branch is calling for concerted efforts in addressing challenges facing the growth of women in football within the country. Now the branch proposes for the game to be attractive and draw back former players in managerial positions and engagement with key partners, and it will help bridge the gap.
Seeing a rise in interest and popularity, women football is still the spits and sawdust of soccer in the country, even as administrators call for cross-partnerships to unlock the potential the game holds for women.
Ya makocha kina dada waje katika benchi. Ukiona saizi for example kama mechi zetu ya leo tumekuwa na timu 4. But kwa bahati nzuri tunaweza sema timu ya Uweza inakochiwa na mwanamke, inatupatia moral na tujaribu ku-encourage tushike wengi wakuja katika hizo benchi, kwa sababu si rahisi, but pole pole tutafika pale. Ni changamoto kubwa sana kupata kina dada kusimamiwa na wanaume, but pia kuna changamoto, kuna unyonge fulani kina dada wako nayo. That's why tumesema katika ile mpangilio ya shirika kuu kuna training zile zinaendelea, na tulimaliza ingine Eldoret juzi, tulisukuma kina dada kadhaa pale. So tungependa zile knowledge wamepata pale wasikae nayo manyumbani, waje wazilete uwanjani. So
if more women can come out to support our girls, we will do perfect. And also if they can come out not only to play football, and also we can bring up more referees. If you see, we have a few female referees, but we lack someone to support us, for them to go for the trainings, and also the coaches. If we get someone to support our females to go for coaching course, it will be better. So my appeal is just let our leaders outside there come up, they support our girls. Yes.
Meanwhile, Amani Queens and Uweza Women Football Clubs began their 2019 FKF Nairobi West Branch League season on a winning note after registering victories in their respective openers played on Sunday at Toi Primary School grounds. Amani Queens beat City Queens 2-0, while Uweza were 1-0 victors against Kibagare Women. The 9-team regional tier is expected to conclude in May, with winners earning promotion to Division 1. Last year's table toppers Kangemi Ladies, who received their trophy on Sunday, are relishing their chance in the second lower tier.
Inafaa tu work hard, pia zoezi yetu ikuwe juu, hata kama tunaweza pata sponsor kutu encourage kwa kama boots, balls hivi, pia ita make more effort, pia si kupanda juu, na kama si wengine ni wanafunzi wa shule kitu kayo.
Bernard Okumu, The Sport.
Now, it was a fun-filled weekend for soccer lovers, and Raheem Sterling's quick-fire second-half hat-trick sent Manchester City 4 points clear at the top of the Premier League, but there was controversy over the opener that broke down a stubborn Watford side. Avoid building traffic, given that this is a Monday. I'm Regina Manyara-Gitano. Over to you, Doreen.
All right, just before we head to Wayakiwe, where we'll be checking what will be happening across that particular road, let's just take a look at what is happening along Mombasa Road, and then later on we'll also look at Thika Road. And now, this is along Mombasa Road, what you're seeing right now on your screens, at the Syokimau Railway, obviously showing that building up of traffic around this particular route. When we come all the way to Mombasa Road, Imara Daima, at least a little bit of moving. This is along the Imara Daima place, just showing that it is moving very very, very fastly, in a quick pace. But at the Syokimau Railway, just showing building up, and it's just stagnant, nothing really much happening along that particular route. But along Imara Daima, showing that it's really moving very, very swiftly. Coming all the way to Bellevue Estate, Bellevue Road. This is just at that Bellevue, the footbridge obviously showing also it's moving swiftly, coming all the way to South Sea, also showing that it's moving at a slow pace around that particular place. Also at the southern bypass, just far behind a little bit, also just showing that the traffic is moving very, very swiftly along that particular place. So those that are leaving Mombasa Road using the southern bypass, it's really just a good time for them to come to the CBD because the traffic is moving swiftly along that particular place. So when we come to South Sea, Nairobi West, also just showing that the traffic is moving at a slow pace, especially at Nairobi West thereabouts. So obviously the people leaving Nairobi West coming to the CBD, they might really have to do a little bit of traffic along that particular place, but it's just showing that it's moving at a slow pace along that particular place. All right, so now I want us to check at what is happening along Thika Road. Remember that Thika Road is that road that it was built to just help manage traffic, but obviously we normally see that more oftentimes in this morning hours there's building up of traffic, most especially along the Allsops roundabout thereabouts. So let's just take a look at what is happening along this particular route. This is the Thika Road, and I'm seeing moving swiftly of vehicles. This is along Mwiki area, coming all the way to Kasarani, Mwiki area, Roy Sambu, Mirema, just showing that traffic is really, really moving swiftly. This is unlike what we expect in the morning hours. We always expect building up of traffic in this major roads, obviously because people are heading to their businesses, heading to their workplaces. But the situation looks to be a little bit different today because you're just witnessing moving swiftly of vehicles along this particular route. So the people leaving also this particular place, this is the Zimmerman area, Kahawa West, Githurai 44, Githurai, but I'm seeing a little bit of building up. This is along Githurai area, but also in as much as there's a little bit of building up, when you come all the way to Zimmerman area, also just showing that it's moving swiftly, Roy Sambu, Mirema, then a little bit of building up along Mirema area. Now remember that Thika Road just does not serve the residents who live in this particular areas. This road also just connects people that are headed to Isiolo, headed to Marsabit, and the road also just served as a good, commercial linking point. And as if that is not enough, the road also just serves students who live along that particular route. I'm talking about people that are studying at Kenyatta University, USIU. So all these students that are living in those particular area, this road also just serves them. And also one important thing about the Thika Road area is that there's also just number of malls. There's the Thika Road Mall, there's the Garden City Mall. So just showing that this particular road just doesn't serve the residents who live in this particular estate, but also just as a good connecting point, help students to move quickly. Also just, good commercial centers because of the malls in this particular highway. But what you're witnessing right now is just swift moving of vehicles. This is along Thika Road, but a little bit of build up that is around the TRM roundabout. So a little bit of building up along that particular place. But I believe the traffic police are just ensuring that in as much as there's a build up in this particular route, that the vehicles also just move swiftly. So just before we take the break right now, we're also just seeing swift moving of vehicles. This is also along Roysambu area. This is along Thika Road as well. We're just seeing swift moving of vehicles. So today is unlike what we really expect to be happening in the morning hours. We normally expect building up of traffic across these major roads, but today looks like the traffic police are really just keeping good at their job. They're just ensuring that vehicles are really, really moving swiftly. And later on, I'll just be headed over to Wayakiwe to also check what will be happening along that particular route, and also just give you a little bit of history concerning that road and why it's named Wayakiwe, what was its name previously, and why it got the name Wayakiwe is what I will be telling you later on the show. For now, so I believe we take a quick break. When we return, my colleagues will be back in studio to give you more interviews concerning, to just tell you what we'll be discussing about. And so that's what you need to be sticking around for later on the show.
Next on.
Back by public demand, the Safari Sundowner returns to Sebastian's Corner. Come meet your favorite Sundowner presenters as we host you to the very best of the golden oldies, taking you down memory lane as we rekindle pleasant memories of years gone by. The show starts at 3 p.m. with DJ Stano on the groove. Sundowner show live on location with yours truly, Catherine Donye and Sir Elvis, the King of Country, crowning the evening with a grand country music performance till late. The Safari Sundowner Reloaded on 16th March 2019 at Sebastian's Corner inside KWS on Langata Road. Entry is 400 shillings only.
There'll be time enough for counting.
This won't hurt a bit, son.
Next on.
Ona sasa, ulikataa kuchangisha pesa za mtumishi. Sasa umegeuka mswaki. Jitetee sasa.
Mimi toothbrush. Mimi toothbrush. Mimi sikuwa toothbrush. Hai.
Broke ni nini? Wewe ndio natafuta. Wewe ndio mtumishi.
Ndio, lakini ubali kuniita hivyo. Yesu peke yake ndiye aniita hivyo. Unafaa kuniita mtumishi wa Mungu aliyebarikiwa kuliko binadamu wa kawaida.
Wewe jana ndio ulituma watoto wakatapeli watu pesa kwa ajili yako.
I'm in first year, University of Nairobi, main campus, and I'm doing electrical and electronics engineering 1.2. That is first year, second semester.
And you? Oh, my name is Reggie Joseph, an electronics and electronic engineer. Yeah, first year. So at UN and yeah.
Okay, fine. So what are your expectations after you graduate? Obviously in first year, so you have these expectations in terms of employment, to get a job. What are your expectations in terms of employment after you graduate?
My expectations in terms of employment, basically getting a good job, a well-paying job, not so tiring job, obviously, because you worked so hard. Because our course is like 5 years, I don't expect to go do hands-on jobs and things like that. I want to be a boss, obviously, but our country, you have to work for it, you have to have good connections. That's the reality of everything. And but my expectations and my hopes are getting a good job, well-paying salary, and have a good life.
What about you?
I think my expectations after finishing my degree is like going on with further studies to maybe get a doctorate level, because we are competing. You must have a niche in the market. We have a lot of competition in the market. So what will set you apart from others is maybe your level of education. And a lot of people opt going directly to the job market instead of doing maybe a doctorate. So I'd rather do a doctorate immediately after my degree so that I can gain that experience and expertise, maybe doing research and connection. So I'll have a niche and an advantage than others who just went straight to the job market. 5 years from now, I'll be like on another level than them. So that's my expectation.
But in terms of gaining experience, employers would always say someone who has been working for like 3 years, 4 years. So how would you compete with someone who has been in the industry, like in your industry, for that long?
So maybe I'll opt for maybe taking internships or maybe research assistantship during my studies. So I'll be like doing a co-education, like you're studying and then you're working at the same time. So that's how I'll gain my experience.
But you still also hope to get a better paying job?
Yeah, a better paying job, a well-paying job, good salary with all those benefits. Yes.
You've all talked about good salaries. So let's just talk about, would you opt to, let's say whatever opportunity that presents itself, or a job, would you opt for that job that will pay you much lesser than what you expected, all in a bid to get that working experience?
Actually, I would. I wouldn't be too greedy, but I wouldn't stay there for long, obviously. You can't stay, if I'm an engineer and I'm working, I'm being paid 50,000, I'm supposed to be paid like 90,000. I wouldn't stay there all my life, but for the sake of experience and the papers, I would for a bit of time then,
Like for you, for instance, what is that first salary you hope to get when you start working? Around what?
Around, according to my research, probably 100,000, probably.
That is the first salary you hope to get after you've graduated?
According to my research, yes, but I don't think that will happen, honestly.
So you think what do you think will happen? What do you think you'll get?
I think it would be much less. Even if I was the boss and there is this 5th year coming to my job, I wouldn't just write a check of 100,000 for her. Probably I'll give her like 40. But I know that will just keep increasing as time goes by because of experience.
All right, what about you? Would you opt for a job that will give you much lesser than what you expected, all in a bit to get experience?
Yes, I will, because it's like a launch pad. Because for you to get somewhere eventually, to get that good salary, we need a good experience. So I'd rather take that, because of the high unemployment rate in the country, I'd rather take that as a launch pad, and it will give me connections and networking and that needed experience. So I'd rather do a less paying job, but the same what I'm doing, not another career. A career I'm doing but a less paying job, not like another field, but my field, even though it's low paying, So I'd rather be it's low salary but in my field,
But still get experience.
Yes, I still get experience.
I'm expecting, first of all, I'll be able to get a job. Then from the job, I'll be able to climb up the ladder in the employment field. After which, I expect that maybe somewhere I will stop working and start my own works.
So in terms of that employment, would you opt for a job that will give you lesser pay than what you expected, especially as your startup first salary?
First of all, it's good to understand that in engineering, once a person graduates, knows a lot about the theory work, let's say things like design, but in the practical field, there is very little which is taught. And I can attribute that to the fact that civil engineering projects are costly, and like medicine, where you'd say the practitioner would practice with the student in the field, in civil engineering it's not all that easy. So you need now, once you get the place where you are going to be employed, it's where you start learning how the things are done in the field, in addition to the knowledge you have gained in class.
What would be your first startup salary that you would expect an employer to give you?
I have hope for really good salary, but since I know I'm not all that well in the practical field, I will just require, let me see, like 30,000, which will sustain the accommodation and the meals.
What if you get that job and this employer says that all I can be able to give you right now is 15 to 20,000, not that 30,000? Would you still take up the job?
Most probably it means when I'm getting there, I've searched for other places without success, because it's not easy to get employment first of all. So I would consider the experience I will get from the job, and also consider other things like the probability of getting the job and doing a good job, and maybe bargaining to get increase in the salary, or maybe from that one farm you'll be able to get to know more farms which maybe would offer better in terms of payment.
So you'd actually take up the job to get experience regardless of the pay?
Maybe for the first 1 year I would. Yeah.
You know, I can't expect much because I'm doing another extra thing. Like I've been into DJing, so I don't expect like so much in BA. But when I get something, maybe an employment, I'll take it. But when it's not doing me good, I'll just major into DJing and forget about BA.
Okay, so would you opt for a job that will give you lesser than what you'd expect?
No.
What would you say is your startup salary that you'd expect from an employer?
An employer can give me maybe 50 Gs.
That's what you'd expect?
Yes.
What if this employer says, all I can give you right now is 20,000, all in a bit to just get experience in the field that you studied? Would you take up the job?
I won't take up the job.
You won't take up the job?
Yes.
Why?
Because I feel that 20 Gs in this century, it can't do anything.
So you're expecting 50, but if an employer gives you less than that, you will take up the job?
I will take up the job.
Because it doesn't?
It doesn't cater for my needs. 20 Gs for real is too little. Even my DJing can't pay me 20 Gs.
But the employer is saying that at least you're getting experience in what you studied.
Maybe I can tell the employer to look for someone else.
Look for someone else?
Yes.
All right.
Okay, as much as, you know, film is still growing in Kenya, but I believe since ina grow, kitu ina grow nayo too, so I'm enthusiastic about it.
What about you?
My name is Joan Muthani Maina. I study at Parklands, yes, a school known as Avenue. I study NASID. Yeah.
So what are your expectations in terms of employment?
In terms of employment, you know, NASID is one career that nobody wants to do it because it's somehow disgusting. So it has a great employment opportunities. Yes.
So would you opt for a job that will give you lesser pay than what you'd expect? Just all in a bit to get experience?
Well, if I didn't have a better option and that's the only available job, I would most probably take it. Yeah, I wouldn't mind.
What about you?
I'll also take it because you have to gain experience at some point before you get to where you want.
What is your first startup salary that you'd expect an employer to give you?
Okay, the least is 10,000.
So if this employer offers you 4,000, would you take the job?
If it's worth it, I would.
If it's worth it, I would.
What is in terms of what experience?
Yeah, you know, you'll when, for example, when you're writing your CV and then you write, I worked at this place. You see, people will be like, oh, so
It's
you have
boosting
experience.
your
Yeah,
CV.
you'll be a first option.
What about you? You check?
Yeah, 4,000. Okay, like I said earlier, if I didn't have a better option, like if I didn't go to look for a job somewhere else and it offers more than that 4,000, I would most probably take it. But I wouldn't think twice if I got somewhere where it's paid more than 4,000. I would definitely go there.
My expectations are for me to get a good job, a well-paying job for that matter, yes, in my field of study.
So would you take up a job that will give you lesser pay than what you'd expect?
Okay, when you say lesser pay, about how much?
What, in your mind, what is that pay that you'll expect an employer to give you at the least?
At the least, with what I've done and what I've studied, it will be 35,000.
So if this employer tells you that all I can give you right now is 15 to 20 thereabouts,
I will not take
why
it.
not?
Absolutely.
The employer is saying that now you can get experience.
Even though I'll get experience, I will not take it.
Why?
Okay, for one reason, I know, okay, what I've studied and what I've learned, I've done a lot, yeah? And there is no way I'm working for you and maybe I'm doing such a good job and I've promoted your company and you're giving me very little and I'm here waking up maybe at 3, we say. I'm at work at 5, maybe 5 or 5:30, and I'm leaving at work at maybe 8, and what you can offer me is 15K for experience? No, that's not me. I will not take it. Absolutely not.
So you'd opt to stay at home?
Yes.
And not work at all?
Yes.
All right.
Yes. I'll rather, because, okay, mass communication, it's a big field, yeah? I'd rather go buy my own, buy a camera, or tell my parents, because they'll be willing, tell my parents to buy me a camera and go and do my own work hustle, that I know that this is what I've worked for, so this is what I deserve, than work for a person, make someone more richer, and I get myself a very poor pay. Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Right, we apologize for that slight miscommunication there. I was saying thank you very much for keeping it KBC Channel 1. This is the best place to be each and every morning. Good morning, Kenya is the best place to be. The best breakfast show. My name is Ram Maguko. The hashtag to use on Twitter is Good Morning Kenya. If at all you have any comments and be part of this conversation, because right now we are shifting gears to Eye on Politics. I'm joined in studio by Karl Maxwell Diambo, governance expert. Thank you very much, Jatelo, for joining me this morning.
Thank you so much.
It's been long since you were here.
Yeah, it was long.
Karibu sana.
Thank you.
Now, the first things first, we are having the issues to do with the flight that crashed yesterday, the European airline. I don't know what you would comment concerning that flight.
Ram, first of all, I have to actually pass my profound sympathy and condolences to the families of the passengers and the crew who were actually on board from the ill-fated plane crash, and that is something that it's very unfortunate.
Now, there are debates that came in that maybe we should be looking into the safety of our airlines when it comes to air travel, that maybe this airline might be having issues because this is not the first time you're having a crash. Do you think that we need to review the airline, or we need to just do something concerning this, because now they're becoming very, very rampant?
You know, I might say, first of all, I was getting through the national safety aviation comment, and they were like, I mean, the weather was very fine from the start, and with very fine weather and the clouds below, I'm on 2,500 feet, and they were actually suggesting things to do with them. I mean, the whole thing from the takeoff to how all this thing happened, it's within 6 minutes. And so to them, they were saying the weather was very fine, and then even the clouds, actually they were talking of around something like, below 2,500 feet or so. I mean, it was still very clear, around 10 kilometers. So there was nothing that was much of a problem according to the aviation safety network. But there were also reports with the BBC that actually they gave a report that could be that the pilot gave some comment about the difficulties that he would actually to return back to Addis Ababa. So then that means either there's a mechanical problem that actually from the manufacturing companies, we need to know that the 737 that was actually landed in Ethiopia 4 months ago, So if we can get to that loss of that number, it's something very tragic. So we need to get back to the manufacturers. They also need to get to clear the air. But if you look at it again, we cannot also not underestimate the terrorism into it, if I may say that.
No, you would claim that maybe it had a hand in this.
If all are okay within the National Aviation Safety Network, and like you get, if there are complaints that the pilot has actually raised, then I think it is always advisable that there need to be this need that they can actually get to save lives. Okay. So if that could have not happened, because when the radar has been lost and the contact system is already lost, then there must be something that now you cannot connect, you cannot move, you cannot know where the plane will be moving.
Now this is with regards to the airline that had 159 passengers and actually 149 passengers and 8 crew members who were on flight ET3 or 302 from the Ethiopian capital to Nairobi in Kenya. This that was as of yesterday, and it is said that 32 Kenyans, 18 Canadians, 8 Americans, and 7 British nationalists were among the passengers who perished. No one survived, and if at all you would like to be part of this conversation, you can send in your condolences through our hashtag Good Morning Kenya on Twitter, at KBC Television, at Ram Aguko, and at Jane Omboye. What are your thoughts concerning this? Remember that the crash happened at 8:44 a.m., 6 minutes after the plane took off. And this, it's just after the months-old Boeing 737 MAX 8 took off. And this, as one thing that came out during this crash was that maybe we need to look into complaints that our people or employees bring on board, because in as much as, yes, it crashed, but the pilot had reported difficulties, and even as he had asked to return, do you think that now ignorance could also play part when it comes to this crash?
When you talk of ignorance, this now, sequentially, we are talking about human lives here. You're not carrying sacks of some sand or whatever. These are human beings. Now, in any case, we get to these machines that actually move with human beings, then we need to take very, very stern cautions about with their lives. So, in any case, the pilot actually could have raised that. So, it's upon now, the radar and the contact system that they could have actually get back and then get to the link on how they could save, because if he has requested that he need to get back to Addis Ababa airport, but then they don't actualize them. Because we need to
all these agreements, even with regards to state officers and public officers being charged on court, corruption issues, they're just a drop in the ocean.
Don't charge these people. Don't just take these people. In fact, I talked of, we just don't make arrest for people who have stolen our money. The solution to this problem, one, ashame these people, blacklist these people, recover back the looted funds, okay? Make these people rot in jail. What is the business of representing people who have stolen your money? What are these type of proofs that each and every time I always hear that once the money has been looted, somebody will tell you that you must actually prove. How do you prove, Ram? If a road is supposed to be constructed from here, 20 kilometers from where we are, and this road has not been constructed, money has been allocated, this money has been used, and the road is not there, what type of evidence do we need?
The courts claim that it's not sufficient.
What is not sufficient? A road is supposed to be 20 kilometers. The money has been released. That road has not been constructed. And somebody seated somewhere still waiting for some proof. What type of proof do we need as a country? If you
That
were
is
to
proof.
buy,
That is proof enough.
I mean, let me ask, if you were to buy 20 buses,
You know, substantially,
you bought one,
we have
19 is not there.
You know, we have substantial evidence that also exists.
So in a way that even the roads that are constructed, they can be literally within our minds, but we cannot see them physically. You know, the corruption, the corruption fight in this, the way we are fighting corruption in this country is like a drama. It's like a cinema. It looks like an episode of other each and every time everybody wants to look. But the reality is, if really we mean well for this country, and there is theft, because by I mean, the word corruption tries to marinate it so much, it looks so cool, so nice. The truth of the matter, this is outright theft. This is stealing. When somebody has stolen something, you know very well that we want to have, but let me say, I mean, we want to have a school done. That school, there is no classroom, there is no administration block, there is no library, there is no what. But then somebody is going to actually give you, point for you some bush around that you are supposed to be doing some construction.
It was agreed upon, or it was just recommended there, that all state officers and public officers that are charged in court in corruption scandals shall, moving forward, step aside. Is that possible?
In Kenya, you know, stepping aside is like, I heard one of former ministers actually say that he'd rather die
Than resign.
But you know, stepping aside would mean that if you are clean, and these are just allegations, don't try to interfere with the case. Step aside, give the investigative agencies time, let them do their work, okay, without actually trying to micromanage them. Then once you're okay and you've been cleared, you will come back, okay? And then you continue with your work. But this thing of each and every time, you will be arrested, you will be released on bond, you get back there, you interfere with all the evidences, you threaten people right, left, and center, you try even to, corrupt more, even bribe other agencies that are investigating the same case.
You can do that from outside.
Precisely. How do you expect that case actually to get anywhere? And then,
so seemingly, someone cannot resign, because if they do, they will affect the case.
And that is the trend. But the only thing you need to ask yourself is that, how come election petitions, we have a time frame that they need to be concluded?
We're having people even from other countries who have just by mention been put in scandals, and after their names were heard, they resign. There is an accident that happened in one of these countries, and the minister
Egypt.
there, yes, decided to resign there.
Do you know why he resigned? He was taking a responsibility, not because he was a driver.
We cannot be able to pick up examples
in
like
Kenya,
that.
you will even kill people, okay? But then you still want evidence. You can't even resign. Leave alone even an accident that has just occurred anywhere. You will kill, and still you will stand out and tell Kenyans, you know, I need somebody to prove it. Then you actually have a battery of lawyers to come and defend how you are good, what was used, how did you see it. I mean, you know, such nonsense. Let us have a time frame for corruption cases. If we talk of any case that has gone to court, within a period of 6 months, we need all these cases to be concluded. And we need to recover back the assets and the money. And these people need to rot in jails.
Investigative institutions shall strictly follow the law in the execution of their mandate. Well, that and much more. I'm joined in studio by Areba Omoyo. Karibu sana mkubwa.
Thank you so much.
What are your thoughts concerning this issue that Karl Marx has just said? You've just heard the comments that he has just given here.
The fight against corruption is not going to be won by emotions. just as my good friend has very big emotions this morning. I mean, the fight against corruption is not going to be bombarded in weekend rallies, or is it not going to be discussed endlessly? Ours is an adversarial kind of
His
system.
sentiments are not logical, they are emotional.
I mean, he's very emotional this morning, and I hope he had breakfast. And that is not what we need for the fight against corruption. Ours is an adversarial nature of system, where when you allege, you have to prove. I mean, all these issues, sometimes we put a lot of public mob into it, then we avoid looking at the legal angle. I understand that as a country, we are at that position where we need a country which is free from corruption. But then what I've always said on this show before and other shows is that, can the investigative agencies avoid slay queen behaviors and sit down and work?
What do you mean by slay queen behaviors?
I mean, we need to prosecute cases in court. We have agencies which...
lack of prosecution of a case in court is a slay queen behavior.
Ram, listen. We have some people in the investigative agencies who have decided to litigate on cameras and using press conferences. That is not how corruption cases are won. Corruption cases are won by presenting your evidence in court. And that is why I'm saying corruption cases are not going to be won by emotions. They are not going to be won by pronouncements that we make in funerals over the weekend. They are not going to be won by threats we make against other leaders. They are going to be won if we get to sit down and get to work. At the end of the day, Karl Marx is that if then the people who prosecute and the people who adduce evidence, they are not going to go to court and just continue bickering over the weekends, I mean, then we are not going to go anywhere. And as a country, that is what we need to realize. And I think the corrupt people have realized that ours is a country where we talk and not do anything much. In that at the end of the day, after we have finished talking, we don't touch where it needs. It's like if somebody is sick and you decide to sing for them, are they going to heal? You need to take them to hospital, Ram.
You know, Ram, you know, being a lawyer, that is where you eat. And that is where you always wake early in the morning to go and get what you will call a living. But the truth of the matter is,
when you say where he eats, are you talking, what specifically are you talking
representing
about?
the clients who is also part of the loot.
I think you're confused. I think the problem, you're very confused.
What I was saying is this. I mean, on a lighter note, what I'm saying,
yes.
You know, the way Ram is trying to put this thing, it looks like, you know, Areba is trying to put it is like, there is nothing wrong so long as you want to prove a case. But let me ask you, when you talk of an NYS scandal, did we lose some money? Is that case still in court?
I think you should take more time.
No, I mean, that is what I'm trying to...
I mean, you're on national TV, and I expect you to understand before answering.
Okay, anyway.
This is what I said.
We are having human rights activists wanting to hold demonstrations every week, led by acting chair Elias Ngugi.
But
do you see that?
My friend knows that we are losing money each and every time.
And I would want a corrupt-free country.
And
even
then,
the president has said that.
Yes, but
I
then
would want to go to Kenyatta Hospital and get medication. I want to have a congestion-free Nairobi.
Our leaders are prosecuted.
Can you also take time to listen to what we are saying?
I am asking a question.
Okay,
you're not answering the question. You're not answering the question.
Can you take time to listen?
Answer the question.
I'm trying to make my point. You're already jumping in.
You have not answered the question.
No. You have to listen, Ram. This is what I'm saying. As a country, we also need a corrupt-free country. Ram, you want to go to Mbagathi and get medication. But this is where we are having a problem. The president has clearly stated that one of his main agenda is to fight corruption, right? He say that. But then, does the president fight corruption? He doesn't. There are investigative agencies, then which at the end of the day, they're supposed to bring these people to book. Also, where the president also, in a way, I don't find that the fight is very genuine, is that we have several people within his cabinet who at the end of the day have been mentioned in several scandals. What are they? They're still walking around and speaking good English and attending cabinet meetings.
Can they be asked to resign and they do that?
They should. I mean, the president should not fire people who politic in funerals only. He should also fire people who have been implicated in corrupt scandals.
During the devolution conference, you had comments made by the Right Honorable Raila Odinga Also comments reiterating that by Deputy President Dr. William Ruto. And one thing that I would like to highlight was that the Deputy mentioned something to do with being a shepherd and asking, if a hyena comes to ask you, what are you doing? How do you know this? That is with regard.
We had the handshake shenanigans. We thought that we had come, we have sat down collectively to try and fight this monster called corruption. But down the line now, we are having again cracks. One of the reasons why for the longest time we have not been winning the fight against corruption is because of lack of political goodwill. In that realm, whenever you are accused of probably stealing some money somewhere, people from your community quickly run and start defending you. And that is where I want us to move away from. And when the President and the Right Honorable Prime Minister came together, it seemed like now we were trying to cover that so that there is political goodwill and there is no longer political animosity. But now another faction has been created. That is the faction of Dr. William Ruto and Right Honorable Prime Minister, which then at the end of the day, you can see the kind of exchanges they're having. And this make a threat to not only the fight against corruption, but the fight, but national unity. In that tomorrow, if we are having an MP from Nyanza being summoned to DCI headquarters in Karura, then quickly the cocoon in Nyanza is going to quickly run and say, we are targeting one of our own. And I remember the President said this before. Whenever these people steal, they don't share the loot with their constituents. Why then are their constituents mopped into some kind of emotions to say, you are targeting our people? It's because we tend to mix politics in everything. In Kenya, one of the issues that affects us most is politicization of everything.
Are we politicizing everything?
It's already politicized, not are we.
In fact,
you should ask how far are we
I'll agree with
politicizing.
the Reba when we say that we are not fighting corruption. By then, the president is just taking Kenyans into some circles, okay? The deputy president, the same thing. But the reality is there is no, totally, we are just, I don't know, can I say we're in a merry-go-round, okay? So when you're on the other side, people will be like, we are waiting for her or maybe him to come round. But the reality is there is no fight against corruption because money that is looted, actually, Kenya is like a cake that is placed here, so each and every person will go with their shares. There are just some 10 people who sit down on how they can share Kenya in terms of in the name of a cake. So you give me portion and all that.
I would like you
now, the fight against corruption here is actually politicized to an extent that you can now see that everybody will come out to say our people are being targeted. Do you know, Ram? There is no community, there is no village, there is no family that sits down and then start to discuss how to loot a country. And if there is any meeting that is being held anywhere that a community sat down and said that, Karl Marx, you are going to now represent us in looting Kenya from day 1 to day 5. There is no community that does that. But immediately somebody has looted, they will come out and now tell you that our community is being targeted. There is no community that receives any looted money.
I would like you, even as you continue to remember that the Penal Code of the Anti-Corruption and Economic Crimes Act.
What's that? Penal Code of Anti-Corruption, Ram?
Yes, Penal Code and the Anti-Corruption.
I thought you said off.
Penal Code and. Now
yes.
You have to be a good listener.
Okay. You had to get like that.
Yeah, I had to. Pun intended. Now, but the Penal Code and the Anti-Corruption and Economic Crimes Act, among other laws, shall be in the next 1 year be amended in order to strengthen enforcement of laws and enhance collaboration and coordination of all agencies in the war against graft.
That is the stupidity of the highest nature, Ram. I'm a very unhappy person this morning.
This came out during the devolution conference. That is not making sense to you.
How far have we gone on the fight against corruption, on the laws that we have? Every time we have an issue, we think that we don't have laws. That is where we are getting it wrong with the laws that we have as a country at the moment. How far have we gone? Every time you feel a pinch, you cannot run to get new medication. The medication that we have as a country, how far have we used it? The Asset Recovery Agency, how far has it gone with the laws that it has?
Moving forward, I would like to quote, Raila is not in Jubilee Party. He is a member of ODM. I do not attend meetings in Jubilee or cabinet meetings. If it is about interference, it should be in the African Union. That's what Honorable Raila had said at a hotel in Nairobi. When it comes to Raila Odinga, the Right Honorable, do you think at some point are we mixing him when it comes to politicizing our country's affairs together with his work as an envoy?
Ram, you know, I've been looking at this thing from the word unity, and we say Kenya was united by 2013. There's a team that came that is now, let me say, the Ruto team and the President Uhuru team, they came together, and so there was unity by that time, and that was a good idea. In fact, bringing the two communities together was a good idea. But there is also another better idea. The better idea is that now the two communities that came together, there is other communities that now also came to join them together, so that we had a better Kenya in terms of the unity that we've been talking about. The only question I'm asking, why is it that now when the other communities have also joined hand to talk of a united country, then now we feel threatened that the unity that we've been talking about now is no longer unity, but it is now a divisive ethnic division within the same unity we are talking about.
And
so
this
there's a
unity,
hypocrisy.
are you talking about a country or you're talking about a
I'm
party?
talking a united country whereby now each and every person feels that they belong to Kenya. If a section was actually together, that was a good idea. But now that, the whole country comes together, then we call it a better idea. But my worry as a country is, what are we achieving when we talk about handshake? Or what were we to achieve?
So some people claim that maybe the Right Honorable is interfering with Jubilee as a party.
How do you interfere when you are not elected as a Jubilee member of parliament or a senator or a governor or a president?
So he's not interfering with the Jubilee party.
There is this an imaginary shadow boxing of some section of Jubilee who today they are the official opposition leader. In fact, they have declared themselves the official opposition leader
within Jubilee,
while they have made Raila to be in government.
Within Jubilee.
Because how do you question an agency of the government on corruption cases? Corruption-related cases, how do you ask? You are now, the second senior most, and you're still questioning the same institution that you are the person who is supposed to be defending. That's a problem. Second to that, what was Kenyans to achieve with the handshake? One, I think they were to diffuse this ethnic competition. They were actually to strengthen devolution. Three, they were actually, to talk of security. The handshake itself was actually now to bring Kenyans together in terms of now stabilizing the economy. And actually they have achieved for the last 1 year, you can see that the tourism sector, they are now receiving new arrivals of foreigners here. You talk of the NCA, the national, the Nairobi Stock Exchange, it's actually now sloping up. If you talk of agriculture, it is rebounding. But because we don't want to look at it in terms of the positive side, the stability, the equanimity within this country today, you cannot compare it with how we could have been in the brink after the elections.
Remembering maize farmers have also not yet been paid.
Because
but now
you could have used the environment, this serene environment now actually, if I talk of the deputy president, he could have been actually now talking about the frustrated farmers. He could have been talking about the frustrated health sector. He could have been talking about the frustrated children who are going to school. You could have been talking about today about the corruption that is now all over, you know. But then you don't use that energy, the zeal, the passion, and the gist. That the only thing you can see is about the threat to your ambition, but not to the development.
Some members of within ODM disagree with the party's national governing council when it comes to the issue of Honorable Dori being accepted back to the party, even as we talk about him going down, if I would use the word humbling himself down, and Honorable Aisha Jumwa being expelled from the party. What are your thoughts on that? Reba?
I would rather not talk about it. Because this suckers of politics every day and who has done what, who's doing where, I mean, it's tiring. And I don't think that is, I would rather talk about the Devolution Conference and its benefits to the people. I choose not to talk about those politics.
Okay.
Yeah. I think if you look at it very, you know, Dory, okay, if you've been suspended and you've gone back and give, or maybe explain yourself into, like, I'm feeling that this was wrong, but then I could have adjusted, this is that, you know, somebody will actually understand. So through that, I think Dory actually did a letter, and it was taken back.
So it is okay for him to be accepted back?
Precisely, yes, because if he humbled himself and he went back. But you know, there is something here that I hear people talk of, like, you know, why do we talk of Aisha Juma to be suspended? She was a lady, and so it's not actually okay for her to be suspended in a party. You know, that's not a reality. Let me ask you. So when did we now say that being a lady or being let me say being a woman or being a man, then that is discrimination?
Let's take
how do you marginalize yourself because you're a lady or you're a man?
I would like us to take a look at a certain clip here for a couple of minutes, and then we shall take a look and comment on that. This is part of what happened, a report by the news department.
1 year down the line since the famous handshake between President Uhuru Kenyatta and ODM leader Raila Odinga, and the political tide in the country is changing. A section of Jubilee Party claiming Raila has laced the handshake with his 2022 political schemes to try and edge out Deputy President William Ruto.
1 year down the line, for some of us who opposed handshake, we are being vindicated daily, because now the true colors as to why handshake was being made. And one of the things is that when you look at even handshake document, the 9-point, the agenda is simple, is to maintain power.
They claim the war on corruption was just a smokescreen, with 2022 being the ultimate prize.
You see the DCI, other investigative agencies trying to fight corruption. They are not fighting corruption, they are fighting Dr. William Ruto. And that has been the same. We have always insisted each and every time that the fight has not been against corruption. It has been fight against William Ruto.
Sasa itaonekana ni handshake ya kushikanisha inchi, si ya kupiga wengine, because that is how it is understood now. Ni kama kuna mtu anajaribu kupiwa nje. Na tuachane na hii maneno ya kusema tunapigana na corruption. Ni vizuri kupigana na corruption, but we must mean what we say, and we must walk the talk.
Their fears is that the handshake has opened a new front between the deputy president and the opposition leader. Reporting for Channel 1 News, I'm Nancy Okware.
Thank you very much. That was Nancy Okware for Channel 1 News giving us a report. The fight is against corruption is not actually against corruption, but against the Deputy President William Ruto. A lot of allegations there. Even some people say that let's now be more into action than talking. Areba, what are your thoughts on that?
On that basis, I agree that we need to do more action and not just talk every day and talk every day and talk every day. We need to see heads rolling. We need to see prosecutions happening. We need to see the freezing of properties. I mean, we have had conversations of the way some of the money is paid for the dams was wired back and withdrawn in hundreds of millions in cash. We are being told of how people are keeping hundreds of millions in the house. And the NIS, the intelligence body, they know all these things. It's not something that they can run away from. So we need to see them swing into action. And for the president, I think you have an array of people. You have more than 40 million Kenyans from where you can choose 20 people to run your agenda from. You don't have to always keep the corrupt people around you and have them continue stealing from the wananchi. So even from the president, I need to see him talk less and swing into action.
The Right Honorable Raila Odinga was accused by the deputy of wanting to break Jubilee Party on the same day that actually Jubilee was and ODM we were having celebrations about the 1 year down the line, the handshake that took place just on the steps of Harambee House. When it comes to that, is Raila Odinga, even as we had mentioned it earlier on, do you see it as something that at the end of the day, the handshake is becoming more divisive than it ought to have been?
You know, I said this thing, but let me just reiterate a mantra or add infinitum into the concept here. The truth of the matter is, the two of us agreed and we came together.
That was unity, right?
Yes, yes.
Now, Areba came and joined us. Why am I now feeling that when Areba is with us, now it's not a unity? Do you know the problem in Jubilee is bigger than even Raila? Because one, Jubilee is fighting about consolidating the number of elected leaders that they have.
So if, if Jubilee breaks, it's not because of Raila Odinga.
It's not about Raila. Their problem is enormous. It's too big that, I mean, in fact, by the way, there is no even party called Jubilee. It's already gone. And I said it.
What do you mean that it's gone?
One, the problem they're having is consolidating those elected members to prove that actually these numbers were naturally got. Two, the referendum is actually shaking them. Number three, the election, those who lost election during primaries within Jubilee are actually now getting to regroup. There is also what we call the ambitions that is also fighting the development. So these four things, if they're running concurrently, they're actually making Jubilee to feel the heat because actually it was formed on a plastic brotherhood.
Between who and who, if you talk about brotherhood?
That was between the president and the deputy president. But now the heat is too high that everybody is now melting.
So you
and
say,
therefore, there is nothing, this is just an excuse. If really you mean that you have a party and you need to build a party, and there is a member of another party who is feeling that they are not accepted in the other side, what could you have done? You need a member. You actually accept that member and then have a member within your party. But this thing of each and every time, if there is any problem within the national government or there is anything, then we can see like it's being caused by maybe Raila or maybe being caused by other people. I think that's wrong. We could have taken the advantage of this handshake, okay? Because of the quietness, because of the peace that it has brought, actually now to fight corruption head on. And it is high time now we could have been talking about growing the GDP of this country. It is high time now we could have been talking about actually not going for other debts. We could have been actually now getting to stop all these huge projects that we no longer, get to finish. It is now high time that now we could have been talking about efficiency. Let these CS work and we see what they're doing. Because today, if I can ask you, even some names of these CS, do you even know them? So why do we have people who we cannot even mention by their names, and they are still in the name of their county secretaries, their cabinet secretaries, who nobody can even identify with anything they're doing?
You don't need a name to deliver. I mean, unless
if you're doing,
unless if you want to cram the names of the cabinet secretaries for them to deliver, but for me, I would rather not even know their names, but see services being rendered.
Do you see the services being rendered?
I mean, there are no services being rendered. I mean, most of them are just cluelessly there trying to piece things together. We saw my friend who used to politic in funerals being fired 2 weeks ago, but then yet people who have stolen public money, they are still in office, or rather who have misappropriated. So I think
I would need to get your comment on that. When we had the CS
I mean, Echesa is my good friend, and I've told him before that probably he needed to do more and do less talking.
Do you support his removal from office?
Of course, I need to see the sports sector in this country be really coming up quickly. And as much as he's a personal friend, I think what the president did, although he has not given him reasons for sacking, he could have brought in a more competent person to handle the sports docket. I have a lot of respect for Ambassador Amina Mohammed, but I don't think she has the energy to go into that ministry. Her track record at the Ministry of Education has been wanting before. She did very well at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, no doubt. But coming to the Ministry of Education, she has just been flip-flopping and bloopers all the time. So I don't think at the Ministry of Sports she really has the energy which might be required for her to deliver there. Only time will tell.
Honorable Moses Otangula had said, moving forward into the issues to do with Jubilee, that the two people...
Why would Wetangula comment on Jubilee issues? He should just concentrate on his Sisi party.
Okay.
Yeah.
Therefore, so leaders should concentrate on their own parties instead of national development. Because Honorable Moses Otangula had said that these issues are affecting Kenyans, so his interests were with regards to Kenyans, and he said that watulize boli, that they should tone down.
For me, I think the president needs to put his feet down and know that the mandate was given to him as the president. The mandate was not given to other people who are busy making noise all over the place. The mandate was not given to the Right Honorable Prime Minister, Raila Odinga. For all I care, he can go to the AU and do what he needs to do at the AU.
Is Honorable Wetangula making noise?
I mean, of course. Wetangula is this man who cannot hold a public rally in his county or even in his ward.
You're sure with that allegation?
He tried launching his presidential bid in Kakamega. I mean, what happened? so I find Wetangula really being hypocritical. Instead of trying to see what he can give to this country in the Senate, he's also busy making noise to try and put himself in a vantage position for 2022. Wetangula is this type of man who has a cow, but then when he goes to milk the cow, he gets eggs. So I don't really think that he then has authority to speak on national matters. I respect him as a lawyer, but not as a politician.
He lacks the political standing, even if he vies for presidency.
I mean, if he cannot hold a rally in
Not only
Kakamega.
political stand, political clout.
So you agree with what Areba said?
Yes.
He cannot hold a rally.
He tried. I mean, if Wetangula was to call for a demonstration today in Nairobi, if Wetangula calls for a demonstration in Nairobi today and 200 people show up, I think if 200 people show up, and that is our Wetangula called rally to demonstrate over national issues.
What will you do?
Let him try.
What will you do if
you are daring me? Let him try.
What will you do?
Wetangula cannot even marshal 250 people in this town.
But he has a following.
Which following? Are you following him? Not on Twitter.
That is
I mean,
my work as a journalist is not to follow
I know.
him.
Whenever we had these manos, they always depended on quote-unquote Baba to bring in the numbers. And I mean, these are kind of political opportunists or political, I don't know, for lack of a better word. These are people who just jump on everything that comes around. How many members does Wetangula have in the Senate and in Parliament? It's quite a small number. But then still, at the end of the day...
Ironically, Areba, the only senator who used to be a minority leader while he is only one person. So first of all, that tells you that, I mean...
He was a minority.
You become a minority, you become a minority to rule, even if you were to rule even two people, at least the opportunity that he was given, he could have actually marshaled support within Trans Nzoia and I think Bungoma
County.
I mean, he could have actually, even his own deputy, is it called deputy party leader, Boni Alwell, could not even now get to the Senate with him. So, he's such a narcissistic and a vainglorious character that does not always have any other stand, any other step. You will never identify with him. I mean, I don't know. You will never know whether he's coming or he's even going.
Narcissistic, I understand, but vainglorious.
That one of coming and not going, I'm not very sure. but he's a good lawyer.
Senator Kipchumba Murkomen had said, and I quote, "You cannot hide behind the handshake and fight against corruption when we know that the agenda is to fight Ruto politically. Uhuru should come out and tell us he is tired with his deputy and we will call it a day."
Ram, let me tell you something. I told you that the same characters, the one you're reading there, is it a tweet or what?
That was a comment that he made.
That's a comment.
Yeah.
You can see the way these people are behaving, like they are the opposition leader. In fact, they have declared themselves the opposition leader within the government. And then they have now enjoined Raila to be in the government.
So Senator Murkomen is now an opposition leader?
Please, if you read that statement, you can now hear. Now, how do you fight a government that you are the majority leader? How can a deputy president come out now to attack an institution that is independent? And it is the government. So that tells you that it is just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time that these, I call him the faction, okay, will actually walk out of this government.
Senator,
and if that will not happen, okay, then we will get to a point whereby now they will still continue with the attack, but finally, I think maybe there are some other underdeals that are going, okay, that will have to affect everybody, because you cannot say that you are fighting. How do you fight? Somebody who is not in any way involved in anything? Do you think we only have one do you only believe that number 2 in this country has only been one person?
Who has it been?
No, I'm talking about how many presidents have we had and how many vice presidents, or maybe now the deputy president, have we had? And how come other times you could not hear that maybe others have been fought through that? So there must be something that is not coming out very clearly.
There is something that Senator Murkomen had said, and that he claimed that the war against graft and current investigations were on ploy to deny residents of Rift Valley development.
Diversionary tactics. Who told you that if you build a dam in Elgeyo Marakwet, who told you that if you build a dam in Elgeyo Marakwet, it belongs to Elgeyo Marakwet people? Do you know how many people will actually benefit with that dam if it is built in Elgeyo Marakwet?
So it's not with in any way going to affect Rift Valley development?
Intellectual idiosyncrasy.
I tell you, Karl Marx. What are your comments on that, Areva, before I think about, we should get a dictionary here on set and talk about what Karl Marx is talking about here.
We are doing a lot of politicking, and we're already setting our eyes on 2020. Who told you we'll get to 2022? And I respect Kipchumba Murkomen, he was my teacher, but then on some things I beg to differ. Right now, what Ram you want, what Masese wants from Kisii, what Kinyanjui wants from Central, and what Otieno wants from Kisumu is development. These politics, they're not putting food on our table. And it's so annoying that every day when you look at our papers, they're all splashed with politics. It's such an annoying moment to be a Kenyan, in that when you switch on national TV, the only thing that we can discuss is looting of public resources, who abused who killed who. I mean, it's such an unfortunate time of being a Kenyan. And sometimes I sit and wonder, God, what did we do? I mean, we are barely 3 years away from the elections, and we're already talking about the next coming election. God, please, you need to come back and save us Kenyans, because I don't think it's done. Jesus, take the wheel, take the bus, take the driver, take the conductor. We don't need politics.
Oh my God, that is quite interesting there. We shall revisit what you said. We need intervention. We need spiritual intervention.
We need that's what I'm saying. God needs to take the bus. It's not even the wheel alone. Let him go with the entire bus.
My colleague Doreen Arange is on standby in location along Wayaki Way to give us traffic updates. It's now 8:13 a.m. Over to you, Doreen. What's happening on that road?
All right, a very good morning to you. And so this morning, I'm just checking out for you what is happening along Wayaki Way. Obviously, as you can see, smooth sailing of vehicles. And today is just a very interesting day because you've witnessed across major roads in the city, just showing really, really smooth moving of vehicles, not as how we normally would expect it, because in this morning hours, we normally would expect building up of traffic, especially along these major highways. Earlier on, I was just checking out for you what was happening Mombasa Road, along Thika Road, and we were also witnessing vehicles really, really moving swiftly. And now to just continue moving swiftly route. And also when I got here a couple of minutes ago, I was able to witness some of these traffic police who are just ensuring that there's no traffic building up, and even when there's building up, they just still ensure that they control the traffic, especially along this major highways. And now just to note that this Wayaki Way, initially this was not the initial name of this particular road. Initially, the name of the road was Queen Elizabeth Way. And now, if you may note that in those colonial times, most of these major roads bared name of American names as well. Some of them also bared Asian names. But after we got independence, some of these major roads began bearing our African leaders' names. And that is where Wayaki Way was named Wayaki Way. And this was also after Wayaki Wahinga was just to be taken to Mombasa to be detained there. This was after he had he had told off a British soldier, and just to teach him a lesson, they wanted to take him to Mombasa. But first of all, he had to be taken to one of the courts at Kabete, and so he had to use this route. But before he could reach to Mombasa, he died at Kibwezi. But just by the fact that he had used this route to be taken to Kabete in honor of him before he had reached to Mombasa, they decided to name this way Waiyaki Way. So this is how Waiyaki Way got its name, in honor of Waiyaki Wahinga, one of the leaders we had back in the day, who was very instrumental, in also just fighting for independence of this country. So this is how Waiyaki Way got its name. But obviously what you're seeing right now is just swift moving of vehicles along Waiyaki Way. And also to note that this particular route obviously serves residents who live in Uthiru area, Kangemi, Kino, all the way to the other side. This is Westlands also, and also just people coming from Mountain View estate. So this particular route obviously serves the residents who live in this particular estate. And also we've been able to witness also that along Waiyaki Way we have a lot of offices, just showing that there's a lot of businesses also that go on along this particular route. Offices, people having their companies along this particular route. So it's not just having residents who live on the estates that I had mentioned earlier, but also serving people who just come to workstations, who come to their businesses along this particular route. And also what you're witnessing is that motorists are also having a smooth ride. And like what you normally witness in the morning hours, you normally see them trying to navigate their way through vehicles, through the public vehicles, through the private vehicles. But today really looks to be a good day for them, as they're just moving swiftly, as well as also both public and private vehicles. However, also I'll just be checking out for you what will be continuing to happen along Waiyaki Way. Later on I'll be heading to Westlands roundabout to see also what will be happening along Westlands, and also telling you, the major reason why we have many businesses and many offices along that particular place. But as of now, we obviously just seeing swift moving of vehicles, and like I said earlier, we are expecting this city continue till mid-morning thereabouts. Obviously we are seeing traffic police are just really doing good at their job to ensure that vehicles are moving swiftly. But as of now, that's what is happening along Waiyaki Way. Later on I'll be heading to Westlands to also just check out what will be happening for route. For now, so I take it back to studio.
Doreen, formerly Waiyaki Way was known as Queen Elizabeth Way. Did you know that? Quite interesting there. It bore that name during the colonial times. But that's quite an interesting fact there. We are still here on Iron Politics. I'm seeing comments here on Twitter. The hashtag to use is Good Morning Kenya at KBC Television at Ram Aguko. What are your thoughts concerning the issues that are being highlighted this morning during this conversation? Now, as we bring things to a wrap, one of the other things that were discussed during the devolution conference with regards to now just mentioning that the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics shall enhance their collaboration with both levels of government to produce data and statistics, and Parliament shall in 6 months fast track the consideration and passing of the County Statistics Bill. When it comes to data, do you think this as a step to the right direction?
First of all, I came in late when you had already tackled the issue of the devolution conference. I want to take you back a bit and ask, what was the value of the devolution conference? For the last 6 years, I have fortunately been playing a role actively in the devolution conference, and so many people have been complaining about the wastage and everything. And I've not been saying the point until this year, when I was not part of the agenda management team, and I was just at the backlines, and I attended it on Wednesday. And I sat back as an officious bystander, trying to critically look at what value are we getting. You have seen the conversations online that some other counties displayed mediocrity, some counties displayed innovation, some counties displayed their Mr. and Miss Tourism, trying to attract tourists. I don't know which nature of tourists. And walking around the stands, you could see a lot of mediocrity being displayed by counties. I mean, you realize a county is displaying bananas. transporting bananas all the way from Nyanza to display in Kirinyaga. All we need to be looking at is value addition. I mean, anybody can grow bananas. And
so that it's not all about
that is why I'm saying
the resources.
There was a lot of
county.
display of mediocrity at the devolution conference. The wastage of resources that you see, people have carried their girlfriends and boyfriends at the expense of taxpayers. People have carried their several drivers.
You say girlfriends, boyfriends. Are you sure who someone carried their girlfriend or boyfriend? Or
I mean, Ram, when I tell you I was there, you were there. You were just in studio. And you were not in Kirinyaga. I was in Kirinyaga. You look at a county, some of the counties where we come from, and you ask, what role does this gentleman or lady play? And they're told, hii ni mali ya mkubwa, don't worry. So you wonder, I mean, hii mali ya mkubwa, is it there?
With reference to the
boyfriend or the girlfriend. And you see, on a light note is that where the society we are moving to is that now even some ladies carry their boyfriends. It's no longer the norm as it used to be that only girlfriends are being carried. But that is away from the point. So the amount of money that we spend on those 3 days, it's a lot of money. Which value does the common mananchi get from that conference? We spend close to a tune of close to $500 million on that. And that is what just goes into the planning, the logistics and everything. Compute the amount of money that goes to pay per diem of people to move their bananas and sand in bags to the venue. What I don't know whether is that whether the sand is taken back and brought in the next year. The bananas that were brought by my county, I don't know whether they are going to be kept and brought next year, or we're going to procure for more bananas. But then the point is that, are we really getting the value? Is there value? Before we talk about all other things that happen on the sidelines and the jeans and boots that happened that evening, very nice. But is that really what we are looking about? For me, I think that we really need to sit back and reevaluate the concept of devolution conference and see whether wananchi are going to benefit from it. When we move the whole country to one location, but then at the end of the day, what we discuss does not value Mananchi. What are we talking about? We're just playing a game of musical chairs when we talk about stopping wastages and everything.
So if we talk about all these things that were agreed upon, or the decisions that were given, or the recommendation given during this conference.
Just a recommendation, Ram. This is a country where we have a very good reputation with coming up with very good recommendations and coming up with very good ideas. We have countries which have borrowed from what we have come up with, and they have moved far ahead, but we have not used those things. I feel that we need to really sit and reevaluate the devolution conference and its benefits to Wananchi. I'm not going to discuss about the data bill and everything. For me, I'm concerned that is this something that we had to sit down in Kirinyaga for us to agree on? The president always engages with the Council of Governors. The County Assemblies Forum always engage. Did we have to all move to Kirinyaga to agree on that?
And just to add on that, do you know, okay, how do you convince me that a governor can use a chopper all the way to Kirinyaga? What are you going to show those people?
Moving with a chopper.
Yes. And then some other governors, they have gone with a chopper. Then their security follows them. Actually, I don't know how I can call that.
What is wrong with the governor going with a chopper, maybe transporting
everything
himself?
Everything wrong, Ram. Everything. Do you live in Kenya? No.
Where do you live?
Ram, let me ask you. Now, a convoy of like, let me ask you, a convoy of like 20 vehicles, okay, coming all the way. Let me use an example, like all the way from Migori, okay, going to Kirinyaga. And your governor will be spending in one of the hotels around the venue. So where are these convoys? I mean, what's the purpose?
You wanted a convoy from Migori, for example, to Kirinyaga.
We don't need a convoy. In fact, the only thing that we need, by this annual conference, I told you before, that we don't need it. The only thing we need, these guys can actually get to sit somewhere. They do a press. Okay? Do a press. If you want to actually, market your county, there are so many platforms. Are they exhaustively using those platforms?
But you have a problem with how they transported themselves to the...
They're wasting a lot of money. They are going to waste their time there. And finally, there is no value for money.
Yes, Araba, you're saying something.
Ram, you see...
That place is not a cultural event, my friend.
I think, Ram, I don't know what to call the way you are thinking, but it's not a thinking of an upright man in the society, where you have just picked the idea of the chopper and run away with it. What we are saying is that everything wrong is with that conference.
My questions are not upright.
I mean, mean, you ask it like you have come from some kind of planet. This is a governor where his county nurses are on strike. There is no medication in a hospital, but he has gone to Kirinyaga in a convoy of 10 vehicles. Do we need those 10 vehicles? So if he was to go in one car, will he die?
Good morning, Kenya is the hashtag. Good morning, Kenya is the hashtag on Twitter at KBC Television, at Jane Omboy, at Ramaguko. What are your thoughts concerning these and the issues to do with the devolution conference that we are happening, that took place actually last week in Kirinyaga County? As we bring things to a wrap, we are having the issues to do with the handshake, the deputy president, the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, and the President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. And there is a comment that I would like to quote. We are not in this because there is something we want to gain from it. He told, that is what the Honorable Raila Odinga said with regards to saying that the deputy and himself reached an argument because they both want a good legacy. Is there something wrong with this kind of a sentiment, the BBI?
Politicians will always remain to be politicians, and if you expect them actually to stand by what they say and do, then you're wrong.
It's not about living a good legacy.
The BBI, there are some hidden cards, and I think that is not within the public gallery, and I think that is why even the deputy president is feeling like everything is not right. But then I think they need to embrace it, because the ordinary Kenyan actually needs to see some progress in this country, which of course the progress we need to see is not corruption. It's not their fights. It's not how they can actually get to exchange. Okay? Today, I think somebody who really feels for this country could have actually come out to speak about high cost of living in this nation. They need to come out and talk about the health sector that is now deteriorating. They need to come out and talk about the education sector, that we can get to a level whereby we are criminalizing the education system just because of the help. So you want to tell Kenyans that if you go to school and you've been paid for through the help, you will be arrested. So then that means the value for your education, you will never see it. This is a country whereby, the transport system need to be relooked into. This is the time that we need a leader who can come out and talk about the high cost of electricity. This is high time now. We need to talk of a country that, if it is not about development, because to me, I always hear, the government officials, somebody can get to a podium and talk of, we are talking about improving health sectors, they are talking about building roads, they are talking about electricity connectivity, they are talking about, some given, so they call them development. You know, these are just merest deliverables. A government that talks about development from a government is about talking about GDP that is sloping up. They're talking about, the debt ratio to the expenditure, actually, to be in, the debt ratio to the expenditure, actually to be at par. This is a country that is supposed to be talking about totally reducing their debt, their borrowing, actually down. These are the things, a country that is accountable and the governance system is working. These are what we call development. But when you want to talk about we are going to connect electricity somewhere, and then you tell a Kenyan that is development, we are a country that does not understand what we are talking about.
Do Kenyans understand the Big Four agenda?
How will they understand if even the allocation for the Big Four agenda is not even there? Do you know these things, Ram, these things we are the people talking actually within the media here. Okay. What is Big Four agenda to a common man down there?
You're saying allocation is not there yet. You even have the CS, Dr. Fred Matiang'i, was given a position to head the committee to overlook government development projects.
I told you the development you're talking about is not about the so-called health. It's not about the education, improving education system. It's not. It's about, first of all, if the GDP of this country will be sloping up, I will tell you that is development, and the country has, the government has done that. The day our debts will actually slope down, then we will say there is development. If our debts and our revenue collection can actually slope up, then that will be development. If we can be accountable and the governance system within our country will be working, that is called development. But all these things, these are just some dramas.
These are mere deliverables. This is why you are paying tax.
Ram,
just have a final word now.
The common mwananchi does not need to know the brain and the policy aspects of the Big Four agenda. They need to feel the Big Four agenda. And for me, I think that we take a lot of time trying to visualize the concepts rather than trying to implement the ideas. And that is why we call ourselves a country of more talk and less action. I think as of now, we are having a broken down system. And that is why the president had to bring the governors together for a summit at Sagana State Lodge to try and sell to them the Big Four agenda. Because he realized that if the governors don't run with him in the Big Four agenda, then mainly the governors and the governance system, which is the devolution, is the implementing agency. So as the national government, it doesn't matter what you come up with, but the law is very clear in terms of what you can do and what you can't do. At the end of the day, we talk about the handshake, we don't eat the handshake. Mwananchi, the common Mwananchi needs to go to a hospital and find medication. The common Mwananchi needs an environment where he can do his activities well. It doesn't matter what you will call it. It doesn't matter the sophisticated names that my friend here, Karl Marx, will call it. At the end of the day, what the common Mwananchi wants is not how we visualize it, or rather how we discuss it in big hotels. All that common Mwananchi wants is the basics. And if we can give the common Mwananchi the basics, Mwananchi is not even concerned on whether you sit in Kirinyaga or Kwale to discuss it. Mwananchi wants to see the results.
Good morning, guys. I'm proposing that we indeed still need these conferences. This is one way we Kenyans get a feedback on the progress. However, I propose the following. One, the organizers should have a report documented and shared to Kenyans so that we avoid politicking or turning these platforms to political boxing rings. And two, limit the number of attendees to conferences. That is a comment by Areba, by Orogo.
Daniel, on the issue of limiting the attendance, that one I first of all agree, because you find a county has taken one of its cleaners to the devolution conference. I have a lot of respect for that cleaner. It has taken a security officer. I have a lot of respect for that security officer as a county employee. But what the value is that person bringing? You have
value.
You have taken one of your cashiers or one of your revenue officers. Are they going to collect revenue in Kirinyaga at the devolution conference? So we need to send people. And all the MCAs go for that. They even go with their protocol officers. I saw somebody with a badge written XX county protocol. What protocoling are you protocoling at the devolution conference? This is a meeting of governors. So we need to know who we are taking there and what value we are getting.
So in short, you are disappointed at the devolution
conference?
I mean,
I'm so much disappointed. I'm so mad. I mean, that was just an avenue of trying to see which county has a better fleet of cars.
I'm seeing a comment here.
Which county has a new fleet of cars? Which governor has a better suit? Which governor can fly in a better helicopter? It's just pure nonsense.
Ram, you know, I will just choose just a sentence actually to answer to that. We need to get back and review the sessional, paper number 1 of 1965 on the policy development framework. And then from there, now Kenyans will understand why the investments were to be done from a central place with a high potential to the low yielding areas.
There is a comment here. Watu wa Nyamira tunakubaliana na wewe Areba.
Thank you so much. And Nyamira is one of the dead counties. Our Minister of Youth is 64 years old. Our Minister of Youth is past 60 years old, and we are proud of that.
And don't forget your youth. It's youth what?
That is the youth.
You know, it's just a league. So we are comparing. Yes, if the national government did it, why didn't we delegate it to Nyamira?
Or if national government can did it, why can't we did it too?
Let us all did it.
We also did it. We can did it.
We can do it again.
It's did it.
We have come to the end of Iron Politics this morning. I would like to thank you for being part of this. Remember, the conversation still goes on our Twitter handle at KBC Television, at Ray Manyara, at Jane Ombui, and at Ram Aguko. Be part of it using the hashtag Good Morning Kenya. What do you say? What do you think? It's a wrap on my end. Iron Politics has been good. Call 254 is up next. Are we giving our children, especially the street children, the love they deserve? What do you think? Call 254 is up next. Do not go too far. Good Morning Kenya still continues.
Next on.
Back by public demand, the Safari Sundowner returns to Sebastian's Corner. Come meet your favorite Sundowner presenters as we host you to the very best of the golden oldies, taking you down memory lane as we rekindle pleasant memories of years gone by. The show starts at 3 p.m. with DJ Stano on the groove. Sundowner Show live on location with yours truly, Catherine Donye and Sir Elvis, the King of Country, crowning the evening with a grand country music performance till late. The Safari Sundowner Reloaded on 16th March 2019 at Sebastian's Corner inside KWS on Langata Road. Entry is 400 shillings only.
There'll be time enough for counting.
Thank you and welcome to Code 254. My name is Amos Ogweri. International Day of Street Children was just the other day, and the question that I want to ask, do you think we are giving the street children the love that they deserve from us?
No. Simply because when you give them 5 shillings, 20 shillings, 1,000 shillings, you have not helped that kid. Because first of all, those kids are brought by their parents to come and collect those few cents in the streets, and then they go and give their parents, okay? So you are not helping that kid. I think in order to help that kid, the government should take up an initiative to take these kids to school, educate them, and build for them a children's home. That's a small budget for the government. Through that, the government has helped those kids in a sustainable way. Yeah, so when we give them coins, we're not really helping them. We should actually encourage them. We should give them an idea of how they can get out of the streets. Yeah, that is how we can basically help them. Yeah.
I think we normally neglect them because some of them might be pretending in order to acquire money, while some are seriously disabled. So according to my opinion, I think they should choose someone who can represent them. Like maybe if someone is disabled, they can buy them wheelchair and look for someone who can someone who can assist them so that they can be like us and meet their daily needs. Yeah, so that's what I think about the needy children. Yeah.
Sana sana asilimia kubwa ya wananchi wa katika nchi yetu hawapati wale watoto wa mitaani upendo ambao wanahitaji, kwa sababu ni kama tunawatupilia mbali, tunasahau kwamba wale tu ni kama wale watoto ndugu na dada zetu ambao wako nyumbani. Tunasahau tu ni vile tu wamekosa mtu wa kuelekeza jinsi maisha yako, ama labda wamemkosa mtu wa kuelimisha ili wawe shuleni. Kwa hivyo watu wengi hawachukulii wale watoto wa mitaani kwa njia nzuri sana sana, hata tukiwaona karibu na sisi tunatoroka, labda tunadhani ni wezi.
We as the citizens, I cannot say we give the street children the love that they deserve. Plus, furthermore, we as the citizens, as we are walking around Nairobi town, we have our own issues. Siwezi kuja town niseme okay, mimi nitaanza kusaidia street children. No, mimi nilikuwa naenda, for example, afya center. Unateki, the street children should be helped by the politicians. Unateki, for example, Sonko. Sonko is the member of parliament for Nairobi. He should do something about this. The governor, thank you. He should do something about the street children. Street children, it's not us who are supposed to show them the love. It's the nation at large. The nation is supposed to show them love. For example, these politicians of ours, instead of them taxing us heavily and fueling their guzzlers, they should be helping the street children.
Some people do, some people don't. Because of this perspective, these kids have families too. So it depends on who is giving the love and who is not giving the love. Because some of us think these kids have families, they are just out here to borrow. And others think maybe these kids, they don't have families, they need to be helped. So people are there are different kind of people. But what I think is that they should be shown some love. They should be brought somewhere, like they should be taken care of whenever seen, because we don't know whether these kids are really having families or they don't have families. Some suffer actually, and they end up being bad people in the society if not taken good care of. Yeah.
Kuna tabia moja Mkenya ambayo inaharibu nchi. Unapata mtu kama akona uwezo hawezi kujali yule mwingine ambaye anaumia kwa njia moja ama jingine. Ndio naona watu kama hao upendo haiko. Ndio maana wanarandarada huku wanaweza saidiwa kwa njia moja ama jingine, lakini kwa sababu ule upendo umepungua kwa kiwango fulani hawezi saidika.
Because giving them 10 bob per street is not enough, or 1 bob tumetoka super, umebakisha coins the 10 bob, kisha mpea, you think you've done much, you've not done much. There are people who have big hearts and they go take those children as their own, they take care of them, wanawafunza. So just do your part penye unaweza, but don't give as little as 10 or 5 bob and then you think you've done much.
What I am just seeing is that we are just teaching them on ways to beg. We are encouraging them to beg. That is why we usually give them money when they beg. Instead, what we could have done, in fact, the government should start an initiative, and even the general public, well-wishers should come up with ways of rehabilitating them in a way, so that they can take them to some rehabilitation home, so that they can be brought up and be taught on better ways of living rather than borrowing in streets. So in fact, a school can be even set up where they can just have, they can be taught of better ways of living, and then at the same time, these street children, they be given fathers, because some of them, they be given caring parents, in quotes. In that case, I mean those parents who can just be on their side, even if it means that they are not the family, the blood fathers and mothers. They just be the fathers and mothers who can take care of them whenever they need. They just give them parental care.
Kwa mfano, kuna kitu imefanyika hapa nchini Kenya ambapo tuletewa county governments. County governments iko na governor. Na governor ni kama rais wa ile county. Sasa governor ndio anaweza fanya kitu kwa wale hawa machokora ambao wanarandaranda mitaani, hawachukulia wafungulie ile shule, kama ni masomo wamekoza. Wengine wanahitaji, wako na talent, lakini kwa sababu hawana mtu wa kuwasaidia wafiki ile lengo, ndio naona wanapotelea pakatikati.
Kwa maoni yangu, nadhani kwa kwamba kuna boma ambazo kumezaliwa watoto, labda unaweza pata kwa mfano katika familia yetu, mimi tumezaliwa vijana peke yake. Kwa hivyo sisi tuko wanaume peke yake. Mama yangu ingawa sio mzee sana, hana msichana. Kwa hivyo akiweza kuja hata hapa mtaani, angalau amchukue msichana mmoja, akuje amlee, amchukue kama tu mtoto wake, na pia amchukulie tu kama mtoto wake, amlee yule mtoto, na inaweza kuwa na usaidizi kama familia nyingi zitafanya hivyo.
Good morning. If you're still with us, this is KBC Channel 1 and you're watching Good Morning Kenya. And this is just about time to do a recap of what has been making headlines in the last 24 hours. And as far as news is concerned, is that the Kenyan government has dispatched Transport Principal Secretary Esther Koimet to Ethiopia following an Ethiopian airline crash that claimed the lives of 32 Kenyans. All the 157 people on board the Boeing 737 that was en route to the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport perished in the Sunday morning crash that happened only 6 minutes after the flight had left the Bole International Airport in Addis Ababa. The news of the plane crash was shared by the Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed through a tweet.
Ethiopian Airlines flight ETH-302 was reported missing from radar at approximately 8:45 a.m., 6 minutes after takeoff. At around 10:50 a.m., Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, through a tweet, broke the sad news, sending his condolences to the families of those who were on board the ill-fated flight. Following the crash, Transport Cabinet Secretary James Macharia visited the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, where the plane had been scheduled to land at around 10:25 a.m.
There were at least 35 nationalities, and I'm saying at least because as of now, 2 are unknown. So among the most affected, as you may expect, is Kenya, which had about 32 passengers on board.
Family members and friends of 32 Kenyans who were in the plane, waiting with bated breath to hear details of the whereabouts of their loved ones.
In the quest for accurate and more up-to-date information, we have also decided as government to send senior officials to Addis Ababa. And so in a few hours' time, I'll be dispatching my Principal Secretary for Transport, Esther Koimet, together with the Director Air Transport, Nicholas Bondo. So they'll be arriving this evening so that we can coordinate these issues seamlessly together with our colleagues in Ethiopia.
Later, Ethiopian authorities confirmed that all the 149 passengers and crew members who were on board the airplane had perished in the crash some 60 kilometers south of Addis Ababa. Macharia said that a delegation of senior government officials, led by the Transport Principal Secretary Esther Koimet, will be heading to Addis Ababa to get further details of the crash. Besides the 32 Kenyans, 18 Canadians, 9 Ethiopians, 8 Chinese, 8 Italians, 7 UK and French nationals were also in the ill-fated flight.
Now, some of the developing news, or rather development news actually pertaining that particular story there, where Kenya is still following up in terms of retrieval and also helping the persons who lost their loved ones in that ill-fated flight, is that U.S. plane maker Boeing is facing indeed questions after the Ethiopian Airlines 773 crash on Sunday that killed 157 passengers on board. And it was the second crash in 5 months involving the 773 MAX 8, and comparisons are being drawn on the Lion Air accident in Indonesia in October last year. And in response, China and the Ethiopian Airlines have grounded all planes of the same model. However, experts have come out to say that it is indeed too early to say what has caused the latest disaster. Well, remember, KBC Channel 1, the news desk is going to be working on following up on this to give you more information concerning this particular bit. And remember that the Kenya Red Cross has set up an information center at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport to help the bereaved, get access to information concerning the persons who are on board the ill-fated flight. Now, still on matters, the Ethiopian crash is that the country is indeed mourning the death of 32 citizens who perished in the ill-fated Ethiopia Airline plane crash. President Uhuru Kenyatta, Deputy President William Ruto, ODM leader Raila Odinga led Kenyans in condoling with the families and the loved ones of passengers who were on board flight ET-302.
News of the Ethiopian Airways plane crash broke on Sunday morning. Various leaders and ordinary citizens took to social media to mourn the victims on board the ill-fated aircraft. In a tweet, President Uhuru Kenyatta expressed sadness at the news, saying his prayers were with all the families and associates of the deceased. Similar sentiments were expressed by his deputy William Ruto, who also tweeted his condolences. ODM leader Raila Odinga also condoled with the bereaved, saying he was praying that God grants them the strength to bear and cope with the loss. Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka, Amani National Congress leader Musalia Mudavadi, and Foreign Affairs Cabinet Secretary Monica Juma are among local leaders who also sent messages of condolences. In the East African region, Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni and his Rwanda counterpart Paul Kagame are among the leaders who expressed their sympathies on Twitter. Netizens also took to social media to condole with the bereaved following the tragic accident that claimed the lives of 157 people. Reporting for Channel 1 News, I'm Nancy Okware.
Now, to all those persons who lost parents, brothers, sisters, relatives, colleagues and friends, we wish to condole with you at this trying time. Take heart and let your people, your loved ones, rest with the angels. Now, a section of Jubilee leaders allied to Deputy President William Ruto are now warning that the government's development agenda may not be realized. The leaders who had accompanied Ruto for a church service in Kiambu claim that the achievements made since 2013 could be ruined by politicians disguising themselves as allies of the government.
The leaders are warning those disguising themselves as friends of the government from the opposition have a hidden agenda and want to use the unity to cripple the government before turning to blame it for not delivering on their promises to Kenyans.
Lakini ukiongea unaambiwa huyo anapigana na vita dhidi ya ufisadi. Sisi tunapigana na vita ya uongo, ya propaganda na upuzi ya kujifanya tunapigana na ufisadi wakati ni siasa tunafanya na maisha ya wengine.
Maneno mingi ambao haileti maneno na maendeleo inaleta divisive politics. Iyo hatutaki.
They claim after disrupting the government's development agenda, the opposition would cut ties with the government and rally Kenyans against it.
Huyu mtu mjue vile amekuja saa hii atakoroga hii chama yetu ya Jubilee, na mwisho wa maneno hata malizia hapa kabla ya 2022. Mchoro yake ni tena pale mwisho aanze kutusi Jubilee kuanzia na rais wetu yeye mwenyewe. Na sisi ambaye ni wa Jubilee tutawachwa kwa mataa pale kama tumeharibu urafiki wetu na wale watu tumekuwa na hao, na sisi tutaonekana tukiwa jinga sana watu wa Mount Kenya region. Hatutakubali kuonekana wajinga kwa sababu ya mtu ambaye anatuchorea na tunajua mambo yake.
Tukijenga makanisa anasema mtu yote naenda kanisani ni mwizi. Sasa hata tumeanza kuogopa kwenda kanisani. Tukijenga shule anasema mkitoa pesa kwa shule nyinyi ni wezi. We want to tell that fellow why his people are poor in Kibera and where he comes from. Ni mambo ya kupigana na harambi.
The Jubilee leaders claim they will not allow outsiders to interfere with the Jubilee government's development agenda and will defend the government at all cost from its competitors.
Wakati tunaelekea mbele, haitakubalika ya kwamba watu watumie gesture ya rais kusema ya kwamba mkuje tufanye kazi pamoja, watumie kuvunja chama yetu ya Jubilee. Hiyo haitawezekana.
For Channel 1 News, I'm Gladys Mungai.
Now, still keeping up with matters politics is that a section of Jubilee and NASA persons allied to President Uhuru Kenyatta have dared those against war on corruption to quit the party. The legislators claim some leaders want to drag the nation behind and are trying to invoke communities on the war against corruption.
Investigations. A section of MPs from both Jubilee and NASA are hitting back.
When I hear leaders and individuals wakisema ati hii mambo ya handshake ni mbaya, hii mambo ya handshake sijui ilikuwa inakuja kuharibia mtu. Honestly, The number of people who died, the number of people who suffered, we need to respect that. We need to respect the handshake na tusaidie rais ili aweze kushikanisha nchi.
When I ask for prayers, I know how powerful they are. Please pray for our country. We must fight corruption so that the people who are trying to intimidate the president to stop fighting corruption washindwe kwa jina ya Yesu.
Mimi nataka kuuliza nyinyi waumini wa kanisa. Pesa ya demi imelipwa 21 billion, ikanunua towels ya milioni 20. Nikajiuliza towel inafanya kazi gani kwa ujenzi wa damu? Wakati Uhuru anasema hii kitu ichunguzwe, watu wanaanza kutaja Uhuru kwa majina. Na mimi nataka kutangaza hapa kwamba yeyote ambaye anakashifu uchunguzi ambao unaendelea, yeye yuko ndani ya hii sakata. Hiyo
mambo ya ufisadi. Tulianza na mambo ya lifestyle. Wakati wa lifestyle, watu wakasema ni mtu yetu anaonewa. Tukaenda mambo ya mahindi, ni mtu yetu anaonewa. Sasa ni wakati wa dams, ni mtu yetu vile vile anaonewa. Kwani huyu mtu wetu ako kila mahali wizi iko?
Speaking in PCA Kasarani Church, the legislators dared the Rift Valley MPs who have been criticizing the ongoing war on graft to shape out of the ruling party. The legislators say they will support the president's agenda to eradicate corruption.
So I urge all Christians from today, we go on our knees, we pray for our nation, very seriously. Because I remember when Uhuru came with Raila and the rest of the leaders at the National Prayer Breakfast last year. They came before me and I was there. And after prayers, they hugged each other, confirming it is more than just a handshake. So, this is from God. This is from God. And we must fight with anybody else on the other side if we are to save this nation.
Upende usipende, Mungu akona interest na hii nchi. Na yeye ndiye anapeana mfalme. Na ule mfalme tumepewa ni kwa sababu Mungu alikuwa na nia nzuri. Na zile mambo zimekuwa zikiendelea za corruption, matusi na mambo mingi, watu wanaongea zile vitu hazifai. Nataka watu wajue kutoka leo, jeshi la Uhuru ni mingi.
Wawache sasa mambo ya kutukana rais wetu. Kwa hivyo tunawaambia ya kwamba hata kama ni kutoka kwa chama, tokeni pole pole bila matusi.
Their remarks came as Ford Kenya party leader Senator Moses Wetangula called on politicians to refrain from trading accusations of a runaway corruption but allow conclusive investigations to be done.
The office of the DPP and the office of the DCI. We support what you are doing, but we as a party have said that there is too much talk and too little action.
He was speaking during a two-day retreat of the Ford Kenya party in Nakuru. Kevin Washira, Channel 1 News.
Away from matters politics, and you delve to matters diplomacy, where the Tourism Cabinet Secretary Najib Balala says Kenya will continue building its relations with Turkey with Turkey. But that's okay. That's a story that I was just about to highlight. And well, let's just carry to that and say that indeed we are going to be enforcing our tourist, or rather our relations, bilateral trade relations with Turkey, given that since it's the 10 years since the Turkish airline landed in Kenya. Tourism Cabinet Secretary there, Najib Balala, saying that it has helped connect Kenya with the rest of the world and boost trade and tourism.
Turkish Airlines family, clans and friends flocked to Turkish ambassador to Kenya residents in Nairobi to commemorate 10 years since the Turkish Airlines landed in Kenya.
Turkey regards Kenya as a strong actor and as an important partner. We are determined to improve and diversify our cooperation with Kenya even further. Certainly, Turkish Airlines will continue to be the most important contributor in this process.
The Turkish ambassador to Kenya, Ahmet Semil Amiroglu, hailed the relationship between his country and Kenya, saying his government was determined to building more strong ties both in trade and culture.
people-to-people contacts have intensified tremendously as a result of direct flights between our countries since 2009, as well as ever-growing numbers of students and business people and tourists traveling both ways.
Miroglu said the airline has seen a number of Kenyans benefit from quality products from Turkey. Tourism Cabinet Secretary Najib Balala, who was chief guest, said the airline had helped open Kenya to the rest of the world.
So here is a partnership that we have opened up our skies, and we want to use transport to build relationships. And we have a great relationship between Turkey and Kenya. And we want to cement that relationship both politically, economically, and socially.
Balala said in 2018 alone, over 2 million tourists visited Kenya, and the airline played a significant role in this.
We don't see Turkish Airlines to be just a competitor, but a mode of transport that brings us visitors into Kenya. And they have daily flights into Nairobi, 5 times a week into Mombasa.
Now, the national soccer team, Harambee Stars, will be fully funded by the government as they prepare to take part in the 2019 Africa Cup of Nations finals in Egypt. Speaking during the 2019 Beyond Zero Marathon, President Uhuru Kenyatta affirmed government's commitment to ensure that all national teams that are preparing to represent Kenya in international assignments get the necessary support.
Thousands stand up for the 4th edition of the Beyond Zero Half Marathon, which for the first time involved a wheelchair race for Paralympians. 2016 World Paralympic champion Samuel Mushai, who took part in the 10-kilometer race, sets his eyes to the upcoming Morocco Grand Prix that will be used as a round-1 qualifier for the 2020 Olympic Games. President Uhuru Kenyatta said Harambee Stars and other national teams, including rugby and athletics, will get full government support as they prepare to take part in the international assignments.
As a result, also last year, when we said that we were going to add a tax to gambling, I think this year I can proudly say that sports, culture, and arts will truly take center stage in our republic. I can say with certainty ya kwamba mwaka huu Harambee Stars hawatakuwa wanabeg.
We purchased and delivered mobile clinics to all 47 counties, and we have begun medical safari to address specific health concerns.
The 2019 Beyond Zero Marathon titles went to Josephat Bet and Brilliant Kipkoech, who emerged victorious in the men's and women's races respectively. Bet completed the 21-kilometer race in 1 hour, 1 minute and 34 seconds, beating Philemon Rono to the second spot. Simon Kirui finished third in 1 hour, 1 minute and 40 seconds. In the women's category, Kipkoech finished fast ahead of Evelyn Chepchir, while Bones Ketur completed the race in the third spot. 2016 World Paralympic champion Samuel Mushai took part in the event and sets his eyes on the upcoming Morocco Grand Prix that will be held next month.
Mwezi ambao tunaelekea mwezi wa 4, tuna mashindano itakayofanyika kule Morocco ya Paralympic ambayo itakuwa ni qualification za kwenda Tokyo 2020. Ndio tunajiandaa pia kwa hiyo mashindano.
Top government officials and top athletics top creams and close to 25,000 participants featured in this year's edition of the Beyond Zero Half Marathon, which also provided an opportunity for the National Paralympics team to intensify its training ahead of the 2020 Tokyo Olympic qualifiers. Reporting for Channel 1 Sports from Nyayo National Stadium in Nairobi, my name is Frederick Mwoki.
Now, indeed, a welcome relief to all our national sports teams. Now, over to Matters Health. Is it a group of women suffering from cervical cancer from Kuria East, Migori County, have received a medical insurance cover. The cover, which is under the National Hospital Insurance Fund, costs 76.4 million shillings and will run for 3 years, catering for services like chemotherapy, radiotherapy, and medication for the beneficiaries.
The medical cover is part of an initiative by Step-by-Step Cervical Cancer.
they'll come from clinic, they'll have their babies, they'll bring their babies to clinic. If we're able to get them on that space, if we're able to say, look, your child has to get vaccinated at 8, it will continue to break the news.
She calls for the reduction of the high cost of vaccine and cancer treatment, with many patients continuing to suffer in silence because they cannot cushion the cost of treating cancer.
Now away from Migori into Marsabit, where dozens of residents in Karigi village and Marsabit County will be forced to spend days and nights in the cold after strong winds swept off their houses. The winds are said to have destroyed mainly manyatas in the area, leaving locals with no shelter.
Residents of Kargi village will be forced to seek makeshift shelters after their houses were blown off by strong winds. The winds, accompanied by heavy rains, also destroyed a nearby school, leaving pupils with no place to undertake their studies. Laisamis MP Musa Arbele is now calling on well-wishers to come to the rescue of the affected families, saying they have been left with nothing. The Red Cross Society has moved in and trying to assist the village that's stuck inside Chalbi Desert. Reporting for Channel 1 News, I'm Suleiman Yeri.
The Kenya Union of Pre-Primary Education Teachers is protesting against direct employment of early childhood development education teachers by county governments. Meanwhile, Baringo County Governor Stanley Kiptis has called for the peace initiatives aimed at boosting security in the region. Details on this and many more in our news brief.
The Kenya Union of Pre-Primary Education Teachers is protesting against direct employment of early childhood development education tutors by the county governments. The union's Secretary General Samuel Opio argued that the Constitution prohibits the county public service boards from hiring persons who are under the Teachers Service Commission.
We have moved across where we have members, and they all hold to a view that they can best be handled under Teachers Service Commission.
Meanwhile, Baringo Governor Stanley Kiptis has called for peace initiatives aimed at boosting security in the region. According to Kiptis, the youth could fight the vice through social activities.
And the culture of Tugen, the culture of Kalenjin, the culture of Pokot, even the culture of Kikuyu, even the Samburu, the Ma group, all of them. You don't kill a small boy. You don't kill a woman. You don't burn a house.
In Kajiado, the Magadi Savings and Credit Cooperative Society has embarked on training the youth in the region to fill the unemployment gap in the society. The SACCO's chair, Lucy Kaburia, says the project targets hundreds of potential youth that will also support regional agricultural projects.
We truly get inspiration from the community and we take care of their interests, and that is why we have the Class B and Class C membership, and they're able to utilize our facilities.
While in Naivasha, residents of Ihundu village are accusing the Kenya Wildlife Service of laxity in capturing a stray leopard that has invaded their homes, mauling over 50 sheep and goats. The residents now fear for their safety and that of their school-going children. Separately, the second phase of a campaign dubbed Never Stop, Never Settle that promotes the creative industry in the country has been launched in Nairobi. The Hennessy Very Special campaign better in future exams. Irene Mchuma Udim, Channel 1.
Now away from the counties, and we delve to matters entertainment, where music and applied arts are the most common forms of entertainment in the country. However, poetry and especially spoken word has become the easiest picking for artists and is rapidly gaining popularity.
Describe it as the most beautiful, impressive, and widely effective mode of saying things, and hence its importance. Poetry is simply the journal of a sea animal living on land, wanting to fly in the air, performed in English, Swahili, and slang, sometimes with the aid of music and musical instruments. Spoken word poetry has vastly gained popularity in the rural parts of Kenya. Odongo Kennedy Liki, alias Kenneth B, started writing spoken word majorly paged on social issues, 14 years ago and won the Slam Africa Poetry in 2009.
It made me start opening up the poetry industry in Kenya, and I think the achievements we've done is starting PAL, what you're talking about.
The founder of Poetry After Lunch recounts his motivation to start the program.
And it has been quite a good journey because I've nurtured a lot of artists, starting from my family, my kids, and I here are still doing art and sharing the same stage with my kids. So it's some rich history I have about me and art. History is that we, as Africans, are made of stories. Our lives are made of stories. So poetry is part and parcel of our livity, and we can't walk away from it. And that is why I'm just taking the inside of me out to give to people.
The platform is meant to nurture the talents of Kenyan lyricists and also expose them to the larger audience worldwide.
Mufasa, one of them. We have Teardrops. We have me here. We have Kunimbi. We have Heart the band who started. We have Dufla Diligan, who was a poet and now is doing great dancehall out there. So we have a lot of artists.
Kalamu imekataa kucommunicate na kitabu.
Tiano is a loyal member of PAL who began his poetry career in high school.
Mode wake maku ameingia in time, so tulikuwa tumeboeka. Sasa nikachukua paper nikaandika mistari kidogo, nikaperformia deskmate yangu, akasema Tiano manze, uko na wewe ni kama siji uko na talent and stuff. Hapo ndio ili ni boost morale.
He describes his journey in the industry and how PAL has exposed him to numerous opportunities.
I've been attending PAL for the last 3 years now. Siku ya kwanza nilikuja nikarudi home bila kuperform. Siku ya pili nikapata chance moja nikaitumia vile inafaa. I found home. I found where I belong. So vile niliperform for the first time na crowd ikani appreciate mzuri, ikanipatia pia morale ya kuingia kwa ma auditions and stuff. So my first audition ilikuwa Talanta Mtaani. Saa hii imenifikisha mbali sana cause last year nilikuwa nominated Spoken Word Artist of the Year 2018 Cafe Ngoma Awards, of which ilikuwa experience mzuri.
Kunimbichi has a merely different story. Coming from Kakamega, he met with Kenneth, who realized they shared a common interest in both poetry and music.
We were listening to music, making rhymes. That's when Kenneth B went to the Slam Africa, then he won. Then from there he came back and told me, Kunimbichi, from the way you write your songs, I know you can try poetry.
Being well versed with the Sheng language, he decided to write his poems in slang to fascinate his audience, and the result is striking. PAL has achieved a large number of devoted followers due to its distinctive free entry and free lunch offers. As artists, they write their work, and this helps them to put stories in their own perspective, therefore making it easy to express.
It's something you can consume again and again. You can eat from it again and again whenever you perform, even to yourself. Whenever you write pieces of poetry and you go back reading them, you think deep, you lose yourself into that world where you repurify your mind, you refeed your mind, and you become strong again. So, and that is what the world needs. What we need to purify the world is spoken word poetry.
Many people believe that poetry is just a combination of mere rhyming words, but to these soldiers, it is more of an eternal graffiti scripted in their hearts to constantly remind them that if you can't be a poet, then be the poem. Ruwaida Muhammad for Channel 1.
If you're just tuning in, this is KBC Channel 1 and you're watching Good Morning Kenya. Now, one of the main stories that we're looking at is developments following the aeroplane crash. Yesterday, the Ethiopian airline crash that claimed the lives of 32 Kenyans and 157 persons on board. Now, what is coming out is that this is not an isolated case for the Boeing series. The Boeing 773 series went down with 157 passengers, but the Boeing itself has had a series of cases, and we just want to go down memory lane and see what this particularly means for this plane coming. Jean.
Despite witnessing a rise in interest and popularity, women football is still the spits and sawdust of soccer in the country, even as administrators call for cross partnerships to unlock the potential the game holds for women.
ya makocha kina dada waje katika benchi. Ukiona saizi for example kama mechi zetu ya leo tumekuwa na timu 4. But kwa bahati nzuri tunaweza sema timu ya Uweza inakochiwa na mwanamke, inatupatia moral na tujaribu ku-encourage tushike wengi wakuja katika hizo benchi. Kwa sababu si rahisi, but pole pole tutafika pale. Ni changamoto kubwa sana kupata kina dada kusimamiwa na wanaume. But pia kuna changamoto, kuna unyonge fulani kina dada wako nayo. That's why tumesema katika ile mpangilio ya shirika kuu kuna training zile zinaendelea, na tulimaliza ingine Eldoret juzi, tulisukuma kina dada kadhaa pale. So tungependa zile knowledge wamepata pale wasikae nayo manyumbani, waje wazilete uwanjani.
So if more women can come out to support our girls, we will do perfect. And also if they can come out not only to play football, and also we can bring up more referees. If you see, we have a few female referees, but we lack someone to support us, for them to go for the trainings, and also the coaches. If we get someone to support our females to go for coaching course, it will be better. So my appeal is just let our leaders outside there come up, they support our girls.
Yes. Meanwhile, Amani Queens and Uweza Women Football Clubs began their 2019 FKF Nairobi West Branch League season on a winning note after registering victories in their respective openers played on Sunday at Toi Primary School grounds. Amani Queens beat City Queens 2-0, while Uweza were 1-0 victors against Kibagare Women. The 9-team regional tier is expected to conclude in May, with winners earning promotion to Division 1. Last year's table toppers Kangemi Ladies, who received their trophy on Sunday, are relishing their chance in the second lower tier.
Inafaa tu work hard, pia zoezi yetu ikuwe juu, hata kama tunaweza pata sponsor kutu encourage kwa kama boots, balls hivi, pia ita make more effort, pia si kupanda juu, na kama si wengine ni wanafunzi wa shule kitu kayo.
Bernard Okumu, The Sport.
A classic example there of jumping the gun and speaking matters sports. Before we gave you just a bit brief of what is happening with the US plane maker Boeing, given that the 737 series yesterday, Sunday morning, actually went down, taking the lives of 157 passengers on board. Well, Jane is on the other side of the studio and is just going to take us through the brief history of the woes that the US plane maker has had, given that it's not the first time that we're having this particular Boeing series actually going down and rather causing damage, loss of lives and also damage. But that is coming in not too long. So let's look at what was happening in Marta's international soccer, where Raheem Sterling's quick fire second half hat-trick sent Manchester City 4 points clear or at the top of the Premier League. But there was controversy over the opener that broke down on the stubborn Watford side.
It's gone all the way through, it's not taken a touch and it's gone in. The corner.
Now, that was not the only match of the weekend, is that Arsenal thrashed Manchester United 2-0. A goal from Xhaka and Emerick at the 69th minute there. Now, this actually puts Arsenal at position 4 with 60 points, 2 points ahead of Manchester United, while Manchester City leads tops the league standings with 74 points, followed by Liverpool at 73, Tottenham at 61. Well, may the best team win indeed. Question is, has the lion gone back to the Chelsea's logo? That's the question that we're asking this morning. But no, before we started talking about matters sports, is that we had said that we're going to highlight one of our main stories that we have been following up for you here, is the issue of the plane crash, the Ethiopian airline plane crash that killed 157 passengers on board. And given that the Boeing 737 series, this is the first of this series, and however the US plane maker is already attracting a lot of questions in regard to this, given that this is not an isolated case. Now, Jane, what is the history of Boeing?
A Boeing 737 series. Now, let's just start by when they even came into play. Now,
The Boeing 737, the first of some of the accidents that have involved the 737 series, from the first one, which was in 1970, July 19th of 1970, the first Boeing 737 craft, which was a 100 and 200 series that actually crashed. This one was damaged beyond repair after an aborted takeoff at the Philadelphia International Airport. Now, when it was taking off, the pilot did report a loud bang, and soon after the craft veered to the right and the plane crashed when it was attempting to just land. There were no fatalities. However, that was the first accident that involved the 737 series. Now, the first fatalities that were in a 737 series happened on the 8th of December in 1972, where a fleet in the United Airlines was taking off, attempting to land rather, at the Chicago Midway International Airport. Now, there were 2 people on ground, and 47 and 43 out of the 61 that were on board that died from that accident. That was the first ever fatal accident that was reported involving a 737 series. Now, since 1970 through to up to the year, all these are accidents that have involved the 737, the first category, the 100 and 200 series. Up until May of last year, there was an accident involving the 737, 100 or 200 series. Now, let's look at the next category, which is the 737 Classic. This is the second category, or rather the upgraded version of after the original 100 and 200. Now, this is the 300, 400 and 500 series aircraft. Now, the first one, the first accident that involved a 737 Classic happened on the 24th of May in 1988. Now, this was a flight, it was called Flight 110. It was en route to New Orleans and suffered a double engine failure due to several hailstorms. Now, the pilot did conduct a successful landing, a crash landing. There were no injuries that were reported. The craft was, however, repaired, but as a result of this accident, the engines underwent further development just to ensure that they prevent, burning out and bursting into flames due to severe weather conditions. Now, the first fatal accident involving the 737 Classic happened in 1989 on the 8th of January. Now, this was a Midland flight. It was a Boeing 737-400 series, which crashed just outside of East Midlands Airport. Now, out of the 8 crew members and 118 passengers, 47 passengers died from that accident. Now, the cause of that accident was because the left engine had actually had a fractured blade, and due to the unfamiliarity of the crew about the flight, it was a new kind, they shut down the other engine, which led to the aircraft losing power and crashing, killing 47 passengers. Now, the first crash involving the Boeing 737-400 series, between 300 and 500 series, just as I told you, happened on the 24th of May in 1988. Up until all these are accidents that have involved the Boeing 37 Classic kind category of the series. Now, let's just have a look at the third category of the Boeing 737 rather, which is now dubbed the next generation, a third generation of the Boeing 37 series. Now, this is between 600, 700 and 800 and 900 series. Now, the first accident that ever involved this kind of craft was on the 8th of December in 2005. It was a Southwest airline flight, and it skidded off the runway at the Chicago Midway International Airport due to heavy snowing that was happening. Now, there was only one fatality, and this was a 6-year-old boy who was hit by a car that was hit by this plane as it skidded into a street that was close to the airport. Now, that was the first ever fatality that was reported involving the 737 next generation kind of aircraft. Now, the second rather most fatal accident that involved the next generation category was in 2006 on the 29th of September, when the Boeing 737-800, which had 154 people on board, broke up, and as a result of crashing, colliding mid-air with another craft, it broke up and crashed mid-air. It actually collided with a Brazilian Embraer Legacy 600 craft, and all the passengers that were on board at the Boeing 737 737-800 died. Those were 154. However, the Brazilian one did actually crash land safely at the Brazilian Air Force Base. Now, since 2005, these are now the accidents that have involved the next generation Boeing 737. And now onto the category that is the Boeing 737 MAX that we saw just yesterday morning with the Ethiopian craft. The first accident actually happened last year on the 29th of October when the Boeing 37 MAX 8, it was leaving Jakarta, Indonesia to Pangkal, still in Indonesia, crashed into the sea just 13 minutes after taking off, and all the 108 people that were on board that craft, among them was 178 adults and 3 children, as well as 6 cabin crew members, and all of them died from that crash. Now, that is by far the most fatal, the deadliest accident that has ever involved the Boeing 737 series, and of course, leading to yesterday's on the 10th of March 2019, where Boeing 737 MAX 8, it was leaving Addis Ababa in Ethiopia, headed to Nairobi. It just crashed 6 minutes after taking off, killing all the 157 passengers and cabin crew members that were on board. Now, the interesting bit about this specific one is that it was only 4 months old at the time of the accident. So there's so many questions that are going around in regards to the Boeing 737 craft. So the more information we get in regards to this accident, we will be keeping you up to date. You can just go ahead and check all this information online and see some of all these accidents that have involved the 737 series of airline. Regina? As you can see, just as you said, it's not an isolated incident that has involved the Boeing 737 series, which happens to be the best-selling craft.
As you can see that, I'm just going through what we're getting here on social media, is that the latest is that China has already grounded the 737 series from flying, and also I think other countries are going to follow suit. We're going to keep you updated on that. But now let us look at traffic. In the event that you are either stuck in traffic, and remember we are indeed streaming live at KBC Channel 1 TV, so you can catch up with the latest on matters news, the interviews that we just had, and now the traffic updates. Our traffic marshal Doreen Arange is on ground to tell us how are we faring on traffic this Monday morning. Over to you, Doreen.
All right, and just like I said earlier, I'd be moving to the Westlands roundabout to also just check out for you what is happening along this particular route. And obviously, this is unlike how it was in the morning when you were at the Safaricom footbridge, because now what we are witnessing is building up of traffic. Remember, earlier on in the morning, we were just witnessing swift moving of vehicles moving at a fast pace. But as of now, traffic is really building up. And when we were just heading to this place from the Safaricom footbridge, that's where the traffic began. So obviously Wayaki were just showing building up of traffic. However, we are also just seeing traffic police, as you can see right now on your screen, also just trying to ensure that they control the traffic. And also earlier on there was a minor accident between a Mercedes-Benz and a public service vehicle, and that is what has also been causing traffic, because the police were not able to get here right on time, although they are making their way to where this accident has happened. When we got here, we found that the lady who owns the Mercedes-Benz, as well as the drivers from the public service vehicle, were trying to sort out, trying to see whether they can compensate, but that has not borne fruits, because they have been at this place since when we got here. But at least now we are seeing the police just trying to come to intervene the situation. At least if they do that, then the roads can open up and there can be a swift moving of vehicles. But this is the accident we are witnessing here. This is around the Westlands roundabout, a minor accident between a Mercedes-Benz and public service vehicle, that is a matatu. And what I was able to tell you earlier concerning this Westlands area is that we are also just able to see that Westlands area, this is an area whereby it's if I may say, a commercial center, because we have the Naivas supermarket is here. We have landmarks such as the Westgate shopping mall is also around Westlands area. There's MP Shah Hospital. There's the Delta Towers, the Safaricom head office, just showing some of the landmarks around the Westlands area. But it was not so. We didn't have so many commercial centers from back in the day, because the Westlands area, in as much as it is a residential area even now, from back in the day it was mostly residential area. But what made this place to begin to start having many offices and many business centers, it was as a result of the CBD becoming during the early 2000s, the CBD became so much, the areas of the CBD became so much scarce for us to have more and more commercial centers, more and more offices. So more people who are starting up their businesses decided to relocate to Upper Hill area and Westlands area. And that's why, if you've been able to note, mostly the Upper Hill area as well as the Westlands area, we normally have so many offices set up, so many business centers in terms of supermarkets, in terms of malls, hospitals. And that is why Westlands area is not just a residential area as it were, but also coupled up with commercial centers. Like I mentioned earlier, the number of landmarks that I just mentioned. We have the Westgate shopping mall around this Westlands area. We have the MP Shah Hospital. We have Naivas Supermarket. There's the Delta space. There's the Safaricom head office. So a number of landmarks along this particular area, just showing that it's not just an area whereby it serves residents who live here, who are trying to head to the CBD, but also in terms of just ensuring that their needs in terms of what they might require for their livelihood is also met. And this also this comes with the fact that there's the supermarket and there's also the malls. All right, so what you're witnessing right now is also just traffic moving slowly. But like I said earlier, there's a minor accident along the Westlands roundabout, and there was also another one along the Safaricom footbridge, and the one there was also between a Matatu and a Mercedes Benz, clearly showing that today is not the day for Mercedes Benz to have, a sweep moving on these roads. But this minor accidents, the police are really just trying to ensure that they come and intervene and salvage the situation. And after that, I believe we'll be having sweep moving of vehicles along this particular place. Although as of now, the way you're seeing is just moving, but at a very slow pace, obviously because of that accident. But as of now, this is just what is happening along Westlands area in terms of the situation on the roads and in terms of traffic. Studio.
Much their traffic marshal there, Dorina Range, keeping us to speed with what is happening, especially on Wayaki Way. I would hate to be the driver of that Benz that was involved in that small accident. Other than that, traffic is flowing. Now, before we went to look at what was happening on the roads there, focusing on Wayaki Way this morning, as of now, we were talking about the ill-fated E2-302 flight, Boeing 737. Now, in response to that particular crash yesterday, that China has ordered its airlines to ground all Boeing 737 MAX crafts. And just coming out is like people already started drawing a lot of questions in regard to the safety of this particular type of aircraft, the Boeing 737 series MAX 8. Now, someone has just come out, and I'm looking at it on Twitter, and people have already started looking at the economic ripple effect of China withdrawing, or rather grounding its aircraft. Is that one Eric Osando on Twitter says, or rather this is his thought, is that since to January 2019, China operates up to 20% of Boeing 737 MAX 8 fleets and used around the world. So China's decision might cause a detrimental impact of the Boeing 737 MAX fleet in the global market. Remember that from Jane, what he had said is that this is a fast-selling aircraft make, and it has been making a series of profits going forward. But now with this pullout, they might be staring at losses. So what is your feedback? What do you think? It might be too early to judge what caused this particular accident, but looking at that, it actually crashed 6 minutes, barely 6 minutes into takeoff. That has raised a lot of issues, because in as far as they're putting in the issue of human error, actually this one fully rather looks as if it's going to take a turn onto the fact of it had an issue with the craft itself and not to human error. But it's too early to tell, and that's why we are welcoming your feedback alongside, just condoling with the families of the ones who lost their loved ones there, given that the Kenya Red Cross has set up an information desk at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport for those persons who had their loved ones on that ill-fated flight. We are asking you to tell us, what do you think should be done? Is it too early? Is it too early to speculate? And if given the series, or rather the history of this particular plane make, is it the high time that major airlines, especially those affected, as most people are saying on Twitter, is that we need to ground this until we ascertain the cause of this particular crashes? Over to you, Jane. What are people saying on social media?
You know, actually, people are quite in agreement with China's move to suspend all flights that involve the Boeing 737, and also Ethiopia did suspend all other flights that were set to that involve the Boeing 737. Let me just quickly start with some of what we already have seen so far. There's one Balsam who's saying this is a sensible precaution. There is a clear and present danger that involves the 737 MAX aircraft, and there is no fix available, only a workaround which has to be done under immense scrutiny within seconds of emergency. Now, just saying in agreement with the move that China did go ahead, all the flights that involve the 737 MAX all need to be suspended to just see where the problem is, because it's clear there is a present danger involving the 737 MAX 8. Of course, prayers going to all the families that were bereaved by this accident. Let's see some more of others saying the Boeing 737 MAX 8 is the same series from Boeing. The first one crashed in Indonesia, and under 6 months, another one crashed. There is definitely a problem, and a problem that needs to be addressed. That is Anne Schul. Let me see some other tweets. Yinka saying, thank you, Ethiopia Airlines, for listening and for the reasonable action by suspending all other 737 MAX flights that were scheduled to take off. They should remain grounded until we know why they are failing. They're falling rather off the sky within minutes of takeoff. There is some more feedback in regards to that. Let me see. Remember, the plane that crashed yesterday was the Boeing 737 series, and it was the second one of the kind under 6 months, and it was just 4 months old. That is a brand new craft. So for it to actually just have technical issues, which was, it is according to the report that was put out there, is that the pilot actually reported a bit of technical issues and was given the go-ahead to go and land, but before he was able to, the plane crashed. Let's see here, Manisha saying, after the unfortunate crash yesterday involving the Ethiopian Airlines, all grounding the Boeing 737 MAX fleet is definitely a step in the right direction. They should remain grounded with immediate effect till further notice, until the reason for the crash has been identified, just to be extra safe and to protect the lives of all the people that are boarding this kind of craft. Well, we'll be continuing with your views and comments on social media, so keep them coming in. Of course, we also appreciate your condolences to all the families, the 32 Kenyan families that will be. Remember, Kenya is the country that actually had the most fatalities from yesterday's accident. The hashtag still remains hashtag Good Morning Kenya on Twitter. Ram, your thoughts in regards to this the crash rather?
Remember that we have had both the Ethiopian airline and the Lion Air flights that were branded the new Boeing 737 MAX 8 planes, and both of them crashed minutes to their flight. It has never happened before in history. So it poses the question, then what has gone wrong? What has changed? What is it that has been developed that was not there before that is bringing these tragic accidents? What is the cause of this? Is it a manufacturing issue? Is it because of it is the plane in itself? Is it something that has to do with the technicalities? Is it the engineer? Is it an engineering problem? What is it that has changed? Because this is the first time in so many years. It's like seemingly this crash has set a record in history, and it's something that will go in history as something that will be remembered by so many people. Sad thing indeed, but what is the solution? So that we can be able to avoid these things happening in the future, what needs to be changed? There is something that needs to be done. Is there something that needs to be looked into? Is it about the pilot? Because so far, people also claim that the pilot himself was had complained about the flight, and the crew say that they would prefer going back to Addis Ababa, and they were not comfortable with the traveling. So is it about negligence? Is it about someone complaining something about something and then someone did not listen? What is the reason? Speculations, answers need to be acquired, but so many questions left unanswered. But we would like to find out more, even as you continue with finding with this morning broadcast, with this morning show. We shall keep you up to date with regards to this information. Be part of this conversation, remember, just as Jane said. Over to you, Regina.
Well, that almost brings a cup to matters. Good morning, Kenya. Remember that we have been streaming live, this live broadcast all the way from 6 a.m. on YouTube at KBC Channel 1 TV, so you can catch up with that. And also, for more details, you can log on to our website, that is www.kbc.co.ke, to get information on matters pertaining politics, business and sports. But before we call it a wrap this morning, we'd want to take you over back to the streets, our aka our #1 traffic marshal, Doreen Arange, just to give us a brief as we wind up this show this morning. Arange, over to you.
All right, thank you very much, Jane. And just today we have just been checking for our viewers what has been happening along Waiyaki Way. And just before I say a little bit of what of that has been happening, I mean, it's a really interesting discussions you guys have been having in studio. But just to touch a bit on the Ethiopian airline, which resulted to 157 deaths, we still continue to send our condolences. Obviously, like I said early in the morning, bearing in mind that some of these individuals who were in that plane were actually coming for the United Nations Environmental Conference, the 4th session, which began today. A conference that was just set for these delegates to come and share their ideas, bring in their thoughts concerning ways in which we can find innovative solutions to curb environmental challenges, bearing in mind that, with the virtue of the fact that our environment being polluted, it leads to a lot of air pollution, land pollution, water pollution, which results to us as human beings being affected. So they were coming to just share some of these ideas in which we can find innovative solutions to combat environmental challenges, consumption and production. So we still continue to send our condolences, and we still continue to pray that may God comfort the families of these people that are departed. But today, I was along Waiyaki Way checking the situation on the roads, how it has been, and earlier on we have been able to witness 2 accidents between Mercedes-Benz and a public service vehicle, which is a matatu. Obviously, like the way the police on the road, the traffic police always just ensure that even in just minor accidents like this, they're always there to ensure that they intervene the situation and they salvage the situation. But aside from that, I've also been able to give our viewers some bit of history of Westlands area and also why Waiyaki Way got its name, Waiyaki Way. And this is what we do every morning. We not only just give you the traffic updates on what is happening along the road in terms of whether they're moving swiftly or there's building up of traffic. We also give you a little histories of these roads. We tell you why they got the names they have. We tell you why it's mostly commercialized. We tell you why there's many banks. We tell you why there's universities along this particular road. So we tell you a little bit of history concerning this particular roads, except it just having traffic or building up or moving slightly. So this is what I've been, just telling our viewers this morning, checking out the situation along Waiyaki Way. And we do this again tomorrow and the rest of the week on Wednesdays and Thursday. We also check out for you the traffic situation along other specified roads in Nairobi city. But for today, this is where I close, and I just want to tell our viewers to have a beautiful morning and to make sure that tomorrow again they tune in to find out what will also be happening across other roads where we'll be headed to for the rest of the week, tomorrow in particular.
Well, thank you very much, Doreen Arange there. And just some developing news that we're getting is that aside from China and other countries and airlines are deciding to do with their Boeing 737 MAX fleet is that Indonesia, remember, it's the Lion Air fleet that actually crashed in October 2018, the latest of the 737 MAX fleet, is that Indonesia will discuss possibly grounding of the model, while Indian regulators have asked Boeing for information. On the other hand, Cayman Airways is suspending operations. This just comes in light of China's decision to ground all domestic fleets Boeing 737 MAX jets after the Ethiopian air crash flight that killed 157 passengers yesterday. And this, just remember that 20% of China's airlines uses this particular 737 MAX 8 type of aircraft. So what does this portend in as far as air transport services are concerned in China? And also, what does this mean for the U.S. plane maker? There are already people who are saying that maybe this goes to highlight the China-U.S. kind of trade tiff that is ongoing. Remember what is happening with Huawei. But KBC Channel 1, the business desk, and the general team is going to keep you updated on what happens in regards to that. Remember that we are streaming live on YouTube at KBC Channel 1 TV, and you can get further details on www.kbc.co.ke. I'm Regina Manyara Guitar. I want to wish you a great day ahead.